Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Weebcast episode. I don't remember which one. Today's subject is Star Wars as an anime, right? Basically, Rogue One came out this weekend. I wanted to go see it with my friends, and I figured it was a good subject matter for the Weebcast because there's lots of anime that's been inspired by Star Wars. And also, screw you, it's my podcast. I can do what I want with it. I'm joined today by my good buddy Jonathan.
Hello.
And by my other good buddies, Mac and Izzy from Something Witty Entertainment, the creators of Sword Art Online Abridged.
Hello.
To clarify, not Sword Art Online, the anime. They didn't create that. I wouldn't want to blame them for that.
Yeah, don't put that on us. That's not... Friends don't do that.
Yeah, come on, man. That's not cool.
Friends don't sell out friends.
Yeah, friends don't claim friends made Sword Art Online.
Yeah. That's the important distinction to make, that these guys did not inflict that on us. In fact, they made Sword Art Online better.
Well, thank Not that was hard to do, but you guys did a good job.
Although, if you want to watch the bad version of Sword Art Online, you can watch that at our sponsor today, Crunchyroll. You can go to crunchyroll.com/basement and watch Sword Art Online. You can't watch Star Wars, though.
But you could watch, other stuff too, just seriously, pretty much anything.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Anything that's not Sword Art.
Yeah, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is great.
That's good.
Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood.
Yeah. Oh, that's on there now too. Or you could watch Gundam, which is totally inspired by Star Wars.
I hear there's robots in that.
There are robots in that.
Also space.
And the characters are, fully formed and well-written and stuff, so, it's got that going for it, too. I'm tired of those, half-formed dwarf characters in these animes. I need a fully formed character.
So you're not in favor of lollies?
No.
Good. Neither is anybody in this room, NSA. So, yeah, we all went to see Star Wars, or Rogue One, a Star Wars story. We gotta be careful to differentiate that.
Although they didn't put that in the title.
It was just Rogue One. Yeah.
It was Rogue Wonderful.
It was, yes. That's... God damn it.
But yeah, it's essentially episode 3.5.
Yeah, it's sort of a prequel to A New Hope.
Many Bothans died to bring us this movie.
Yeah,
they still didn't explain what Bothans are.
Yeah, what are Bothans? I still don't know, and I want to.
But yeah, so it's about a bunch of rebels stealing the plans for the Death Star so that they can give it to Princess Leia so that she can have the plans to the Death Star and hand those off to Luke and start the whole series. I thought it was a pretty good movie. We're gonna have a non-spoiler segment where we just say our general thoughts, then move into some deeper spoiler territory in a little bit. But first round the table, what'd you guys think of it?
I actually really enjoyed it because one thing that I really liked about the Star Wars series is the spaceships and all the space combat, which wasn't really the biggest focus in some of the previous Star Wars movies. But this one had a huge space battle and even dogfights and stuff, and it just scratched that spaceship blowing up itch that I had.
Much better battle than the one in episode 2.
We don't talk about that one.
The one that's one big shot and everyone's really impressed by, even though it's CGI, and therefore doing a one-shot take in CGI is...
It's not really impressive.
Nah. It's just there's all this stuff that's going on in front of the camera. Yep.
Man, this screen sure is green.
Woo! But yeah, no, the space battles in this were quite impressive. I like that the spaceships kind of looked a lot like the plastic models that they used.
That's generally, when they're in, the Rebel headquarters, and you've got, you see it in the trailer, too. I noticed that. They do a really good job of recreating what the effects look like in A New Hope, but not making them look crappy. They're good new effects.
Yeah, they're the same tinge, but updated.
Yeah, they've got that tinge where it's this is, people have made that joke where you go from, flipping and backflips and everything, and then you go to the really awkward sword fight in A New Hope. This is a much better transition into A New Hope. It's the
it's updated and it's new technology special effects wise, but it doesn't look jarring. Like I could definitely see watching this, going into A New Hope and being like, yeah, no, this is the same universe.
Yeah, the Star Destroyers have like the right texture and the right shader on them to make them look like the plastic models that they used in A New Hope.
But again, not cheap or fake. It's
I mean, they didn't look cheap or fake in A New Hope either.
No, I know, but people always think that where it's like, oh, it looks like a plastic model. It's like, you got to clarify. It's like, no, it looks like...
It looks like a professional grade prop from a practical effects movie.
This movie was like a harmony between the two, and it actually made a really good transition where it prepares you to see the effects of A New Hope, while if you're coming from one of the prequel movies.
I am sure glad that we didn't see any Naboo starfighters in it, though. Oh man, those are some ugly ass bad design ships.
It's like a trident without the stick, and it flies backwards.
And it's the color that would most stand out against the inky blue black of space.
That is true. Yeah, that camouflage. No.
I mean, like realistically, in a space battle, camouflage is. Everything is camouflaged all the time, unless you're in the light of a sun. In which case, nothing can possibly be camouflaged.
At the very least, you would think that, like, everything would be painted black.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be, like, the least they could do.
Yeah, but they want to differentiate themselves from the TIE fighters? I don't know.
I mean, there's a visual language to a film medium, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's what you got to do. That's why the stormtroopers are faceless drones, and the rebels always have like unique and slightly different uniforms and a little personality to them. Yeah. And the stormtroopers are always like, it's just like the same thing, endless and endless and endless. That's the whole point.
Oh yeah, something that I thought of during the movie, with the fact that like the Empire is exclusively human.
Yeah,
that's not spoiler.
That's not spoiler? Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, there have been other movies where this is established.
I thought like part of that was...
the fact that, like, the Empire is exclusively human, you would think that, like, at some point, like... You would think that at some point people would be, like, kind of racist against humans.
Yeah,
I think that would be a potential, like, plot point in one of the movies, but it never comes up, and it only occurred to me during this movie.
I think, I don't know, I don't think that would happen because most people in the Empire are humanoid. Like, there's only, like, the humanoid, there's a bunch of different humanoid races, I think, is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's the white
Naboo
people
aren't from future Earth.
Like, I think Mace Windu probably came from a different planet in George Lucas's marginally racist universe. You know, the
same planet Lando comes from?
The same planet Lando comes from, and the same planet that they kidnapped. What's his name from?
Knowing the way all the films are connected, I'm sure Mace and Lando are like somehow like, you know, uncle and nephew, like they're somehow like that closely connected, and we both just happen to come from the planet of black people.
Yeah,
just like Finn.
Finn. Yeah, the black Finn was the name I was going for, but yeah, the black people planet, and they've got the now they've introduced the Asian people planet because there was that Asian child in the first thing who was crying and got saved from the falling building or something.
Is that spoilery?
That's not really. That's like the first action scene.
I feel like that's
not
a very generic war zone. This person has compassion thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a very common shot of shit's going down, there is a crying child in the middle of it.
I know,
and then it's like, oh, that person's the hero because they're saving the child.
I know, once I want that moment to happen and have, like, the hero looks over just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, almost bartering with the sidekick, like, hey, do you mind if I'm, like, the comedic relief and you go into, like, the hail of gunfire and save the child? No, that's still my job. Fuck it. All right.
Every time.
I'm picturing like a scene where like there's the crying child and the hero's there in cover and it's just like, no, let someone else get this one.
Yeah.
And then like obviously they would immediately turn around and run and get them after a slight self-deliberation, but
I know. I would just like that one time just to hear it be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
No, not this time. No, I got the last 7.
The world's overpopulated anyway. We don't need more children.
Yeah. It would be nice to have, like, a hero who doesn't just run into fire for, like, a random kid. Like, that would be a good defining moment for, like, Han Solo in his Han Solo movie. If there's, like, a crying child and he's like,
but it would
fuck that, Chewie, let's get out of here.
It would immediately turn the audience against him, though.
But that's what Han would do. Prior to meeting, like, Princess Leia, young Han didn't give a fuck about nobody.
Fair enough, yeah. Like, in the case of Han, where you already know what he becomes, that might be okay, because, like, it's fine. We know he gets better.
Yeah, I mean,
I can
still cares about Chewie, though. So, I mean...
I can see, like, Han Solo... Chewie brings in the Millennium Falcon, and there's this crying child, and Han Solo's like, screw it, and like throws the kid a knife. You're on your own. Millennium Falcon flies away.
Yeah, like Han.
Kid.
Like Han would help the kid in his way, like throw them a blaster. It's like, that should. If you know how to use that thing, you should be all right in this world.
Kid's like struggling to pick it up, fires it, just smashes them in the face.
Yeah,
grabs it from the wrong side.
Do blasters have recoil?
Not that I could tell.
Probably not.
That was actually something that I was noticing in the movie. I'm like, oh, his sniper laser has a stock. Does it have recoil?
Might just make it easier.
But I think it just makes it easier to aim.
I figure it's probably a stability thing, whereas the guy with the sort of Gatling thing was more no stock at all, just point and shoot.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, with no recoil, you would think that the stormtroopers would be able to aim more accurately, but nope. Stormtroopers miss people. That's not a spoiler either.
No,
that's like a long-running joke for the past like 30
that's
years.
Just canon.
Yeah, that's just canon.
So, back to like our thoughts on the movie. Izzy, what'd you think of it?
I liked it.
No, nothing.
You liked it a lot.
It was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd say I liked it a little better than the last one, Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. It was definitely a more original story than The Force Awakens.
Which is ironic because it leans back on the nostalgia just as much, just in a different way.
With the characters, yeah. It's definitely got its own nostalgia banking. But
I feel like we were actually due for a Star Wars movie that was less about lightsabers and more about the plucky anti-heroes.
Yeah, the pew-pew blasters and everything.
When you think about it, lightsabers are such a small part of the universe after all the Jedi got.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's good that they're doing all this extended universe stuff. I mean, it was inevitable that they would once they got the rights with how successful the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been. But I think Star Wars is very well suited to those kinds of stories. They could even have some movies set in the Old Republic. That's not going to happen, but they could.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, they could. There's lots of stuff that you can do that doesn't even involve the Empire at all. It's a galactic civilization with thousands of years of history, but you want to bet that Darth Vader is going to show up in like 40 more movies?
I gotta say, we were talking about this earlier. What I really loved about it was the trailers really sell you on it being like the dark Star Wars movie. Like, this is the one where everything's going to be serious and depressing and, like, look at the effects of war. And it is that to an extent, but it's funny. Like, it's human.
Oh, yeah, the humor was a really good part of this movie.
And I feel like it's like...
very funny.
It takes my biggest problem with, like, the DC Cinematic Universe films. My biggest problem, it slaps it in the face. Like, you can do a serious and dark film, and characters can still crack a goddamn smile once in a while.
Yeah, there are some really good jokes that punctuate scenes. What's the robot's name?
K2SO.
Yeah, K2SO, and the monk character. They get a lot of the yeah. I have trouble remembering sci-fi names because they're just, a bunch of garbled syllables.
Yeah.
That is racist.
And
you just can't remember his name because he's the Asian Star Wars character. You remember Han, no problem.
Yeah,
Because he's
you're
the
right.
typical straight white male.
To be fair, we also
Because he has a
Hans-
3-syllable name.
and we hear it more than once in the movie.
Yeah, they didn't do a very good job of, like, repeating characters' names.
Except for the main girl.
Yeah.
They said that a couple of times.
Yeah, but was it, like, was her name Lynn or...
Jin.
Jin, right. Jin.
Jin Erso.
Jin Erso. I heard it pronounced a couple different ways. Like, at one point, I'm pretty sure I heard Jed.
Well, honest trailers.
Jin Erso.
Yeah.
You know what? In honesty, that's a Star Wars tradition. If honest trailers is to be believed, they just did Empire Strikes Back, and they pointed out that Princess Leia pronounces his Han Solo's name Han and Han, depending on what scene it is. Like, she actually changes the pronunciation of his name.
Don't worry about it. But yeah.
No, one of them's a nickname. It shows that they're gonna get together later.
And then, yeah, there was scrappy rebellion guy who she hooks up with at the end. Wait, no spoilers. Did she?
Besides,
yeah,
it's...
Yeah.
I was waiting for
who the story says that she should hook up with at the end.
I was waiting
knows?
for Karma to bite some people in the
Cassian, right?
And you know what?
But
That's what fan fiction's for. There is somewhere out there an alternate universe where they're just straight up fucking.
oh yeah, I mean,
There-
there is somewhere out here. I'm pointing to the computer. But anyway, to get back to my point, like the monk character and K2SO, they
Robot.
The monk character and the robot, they really carried the comedy. Like they had some
That's great.
gold lines, especially the robot.
The monk guy had his straight man alongside him that also I
Had
felt
some
helped
really
a lot.
funny lines. Yeah.
I would say they all had like one or two like really good funny moments, but it was basically those two who just like carried this movie and gave it like this movie has a lot of like heart, and you give a shit about these characters.
Yeah, it's
Like
interesting. 'cause-
I honestly give more of a shit about these characters than I do Luke in many cases in the original films.
Yes. Yeah, you go into this movie knowing it's a suicide mission, but you still find yourself hoping maybe they'll be okay.
Maybe they just retired after this.
Yeah.
That's why they've never been mentioned.
Maybe they get a medal ceremony at the end.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And you're
Who
actually-
knows? We're not at the spoiler section yet.
Exactly, and that's the thing is
We've spoiled
again,
a lot of shit already.
but
No,
again,
not really. I mean, we're...
nothing too significant that it'll ruin the movie for people. I don't think.
yeah, but like, and that's the thing. But that's what you don't. That is one thing that I will agree with Izzy on that I think is it does better than Force Awakens, or in fact, any of the other Star Wars movies. You go into this, and there's actual like suspense in this one because you do not know if these guys are gonna fucking
Yeah,
make
none
it.
of them
Yeah.
have plot armor.
Yeah. None of them have a destiny. Like...
Yeah, no one's the chosen one except like to a degree Jin, I guess, because that's how they get her in.
Yeah, I mean, the Jin has like a connection to the Death Star in that her...
Well,
This isn't a spoiler.
well that's a bit of a spoiler.
it's-
They haven't... Yeah, you haven't established it in the trailer. Okay, so I'll get to that. I would...
But I mean, she has a reason to get pulled in.
she has a
But
reason
that's
to
the
get pulled
closest-
in.
That's
Yeah.
the closest you get to a chosen one, as opposed to Luke, where it's like, you are the last Jedi. You have to be the one who strikes down Vader and brings balance.
Yeah, you must bring balance to the Force, and it's like, well, okay, we got no other options. It's either 1,000 years of darkness or...
Although I do like that some people have pointed out that when you think about it, they were right in the prequels that Anakin was the one who brings balance to the Force because he's actually the one who kills the Emperor.
True.
But yeah,
Also,
there's none of that chosen one shit in this, which I love. I love it.
One thing I really liked about it too was it wasn't just like, oh, we gotta stop the Empire, because she started out not really giving a shit either way. She just didn't want any part of this battle.
Yeah. And, like, honestly, they gave her about as much reason to hate the rebellion because of reasons.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, game theory had, like, a theory that they were all going to be kidnapped and brainwashed and turned into the Knights of Ren. Or film theory, sorry.
Yeah.
That didn't... I don't know if that panned out or not. We're not in spoiler territory yet.
Yeah, there's something I want to say about that, actually.
The one thing that I wanna address before we really get into spoiler talk that I found kind of interesting is that, like tonally and in terms of visual design, this movie was like clearly hitting on a lot of like modern war movies, like Black Hawk Down or Apocalypse Now. Like the initial battles on the desert planet or the desert moon of Jeddah. Jeddah. That was very like
reminiscent.
6 Days in Fallujah or whatever. Like
I could definitely see the Black Hawk Down, like what you're talking about. Like that's very much the again, don't want to get into spoilers, but like like the way it's shot, the tactics used, like
I got some Children of Men feelings out of that too.
Yeah, there were.
Can't comment on that. That's actually one I haven't seen.
There was definitely like moments of like suspense, like you would see in a movie with like a military ambush where the stormtroopers are walking through the streets. They've got that tank, and then like rebels start lining up.
That's
to
not
take
spoilers.
them.
There's a Lego set of it.
There is a Lego set of it. That's fine.
God,
but like
seriously?
But the rebels all start like taking up positions, and there's like a solid minute before shit goes down that's like very much inspired by things like Black Hawk Down or things like Sicario, where it's like this long setup and a very fast explosion of action, and then I mean the action gets kind of drawn out, which I would almost complain about, but I mean that's kind of
I feel like it was just it built up to the payoff, and the payoff was worth it. It made you wait, and then it made you go, "Hey, wasn't that worth the fucking wait?"
But then they keep shooting, and it's like
I feel like they did that so that you could see the action with the guys that you don't really know getting shot, and then you get to see your characters that you know running through the streets and part of the same conflict.
Or even characters you don't know that well that are being introduced, and it's like, oh, this is their thing.
But there
were even characters that were never introduced by name, only showed up in 2 shots, and I remember them because they actually had something to do.
And I think I know what you're talking about.
The little guy.
Yeah. The little guy was great.
The little frog dwarf.
Didn't a different little guy showed up later?
Yeah. Like that little guy. I love that shot because that's the moment where I'm picturing Gareth Edwards, the director of this movie. I'm picturing him watching Return of the Jedi, just like staring at like a freeze frame of the Ewoks, like, I'm going to do this concept right. I am going to not ruin and sink a movie for this.
Yeah.
This is going to be in there.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that almost felt like, what if all of the races that you've seen in Star Wars, instead of like having normal jobs, like, what if there was a Jawa that was like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this shit. I'm joining the rebellion. And I feel like that's something that they touched on in this movie.
What if there was a Jawa who, like, substantially disappointed his entire family by becoming, like, a lawyer or a doctor instead of, like, a filthy desert scavenger who contributes nothing to the world? I'm so disappointed in my son.
Family business. It's tradition.
I'm so disappointed in my son. Yeah. He's a doctor.
Yeah. That'll be the next. That'll be the next Star Wars.
I would watch the fuck out of that.
It would be called Jawa Counting.
It would be the jazz singer, a Star Wars story. I have no son.
Yeah, or yeah. Oh god, or like Dr. Jawa or something, and then it's just like. Just a straight, like, exploitation movie about Jawas. Jawa split, like...
It's like you go in expecting, like, gunfights and everything, but it's just, like, a medical drama set in the Star Wars universe.
Scrubs with Jawas.
I would love to actually see, like, movies or TV shows from, like, or, like, an equivalent of that from the Star Wars universe, like, there's so much stuff that you can do.
NCIS Empire.
Like, I love the concept of, like, an world's take on
There are people that have done some things like that. Did you see the Star Wars parody of Cops?
Oh, yeah, Troops.
That was Troops a good one.
That was from, like, 2005. We watched that together on, like, your PSP, I think.
That was
in high school.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, like, they had their own theme song. It was like, bad boys, what you gonna do when it was like a Star Wars word. Surity and come for you, something like that. But
I also especially like that it was an alternate take on what happened to his aunt and uncle.
oh god, that was so good. Just like that random mistake. Troops is one of the funniest online videos like ever. In relation to Troops, I did like that they like expanded a little bit on the politics and infighting of the Empire in this movie in like interesting ways.
Should we go into spoiler territory and just like let loose?
I would say spoiler. I did have one more thing I wanted to say about the settings and design, which is that last battle on the planet, the beach planet, had a very Vietnam vibe to it.
Gareth.
Yes.
The Scarif, but like
Same
what
Scarif, it's my favorite font.
one of the rebels' uniforms was literally like a Full Metal Jacket knockoff. He had like the helmet, the askew helmet with the
they
thing
all
hanging
had that
off.
helmet.
Yeah,
With the smoke and everything. Yeah, you're right. It did kind of have an Apocalypse Now thing going on.
yeah, like the helicopters come in to save the day, except they're X-wings.
They had a
and-
door gunner.
Yep. It was
I also-
very Vietnam movie.
I also really appreciate the way that like they added new ships that I'd never seen before, but they added them in such a way that they fit within the context of the movie, but wouldn't have fit in the context of later movies, like the dropship thingy with the door gunner on it, because obviously you're not going to use that in a space battle, which is why you only saw the other ships of the Rebellion.
So they can sell you that toy and you won't be like, that toy doesn't make any sense.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't want it.
Yeah.
But then also, I think there was like one thing that didn't fully fit into that. And then there's a throwaway line between two of the stormtroopers where he's like, I heard they're finally discontinuing that thing. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, it was the robot, right?
Yeah, I think it was the droids that make of droids.
I remember thinking that was actually going to have something where that droid character got pulled aside and hassled because he was going to be decommissioned, and then he like smacks someone in the mouth or something.
Yeah, I mean, it worked as like a throwaway line.
It was a lampshade hanging.
Yeah, and it was really funny. It gave a bit of personality to those stormtroopers, which I always feel bad about, because whenever the stormtroopers have personality, I'm like, oh Jesus, these guys don't deserve to
Such
die.
terrible.
I thought it was really
things are gonna happen to you.
interesting in one scene where like the main hero characters were just knocking out stormtroopers, and then the generic rebels were just straight up shooting them. And it's just like, oh, he's a nice guy, he's just knocking him out, and then like 3 guys get shot.
Like,
I'm sure the only reason he was knocking them out instead of killing them was because his blaster would have been a pain in the ass to pull out and
probably.
execute all of them.
Well, also just to like, or am I thinking of a different scene? You're okay. Sorry,
Like with the taser.
Right.
Yeah, the taser to the back of the neck, which is like immediately followed up by blaster. The robot had no qualms about killing people.
Well, he's a robot. He's logical.
Yeah, and
he's not into meat bags.
Neither did Jyn Erso, actually. She was shown to be pretty, like, hardcore about murdering people.
I feel like that's because
given
of...
who raised her for like 10 years or so, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we should...
So we should go into spoiler territory now. All right, so we're 30 minutes in. We're hitting spoilers at around the 1 hour mark, I want to say. So we've got half an hour to talk about spoilers, and then we're going to be going into our weeks and then the mailbag. So if you want to skip ahead to approximately an hour in, or whatever time code I put on the screen, assuming that I'm wrong now, you can do that now. All right, so spoiler talk is go.
Grand Moff Tarkin and the CG that they used to bring him back. It looked really good when he wasn't talking, and then
it looked really bad.
Yeah,
I actually didn't even notice.
I noticed
at first
once or twice, but I didn't have a problem with it.
At first, I thought, oh my god, they brought the actor back. He doesn't look any different.
Yeah,
and then
like,
there was like something wrong, and I realized it was the uncanny valley.
I feel like I actually, again, I barely noticed it, and I feel like the only reason I knew that it was CGI
is because you knew he was dead.
Yeah, Peter Cushing's been dead for a good 20, 30 years.
There were some things about it, like his nose just seemed to be modeled a little too big. But I think
Also, his movement when he would walk, I felt.
he was very like clearly animated.
I will say I was surprised how much footage they gave him.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it does not hold up to like long-term scrutiny. Like they gave him more footage than they gave to Clue in Tron Legacy with the mask off.
They gave him more footage than I think Peter Cushing had in A New Hope.
Yep.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. Sounds
and-
about right, actually.
Definitely more character. Definitely more character than he had. Because, like, in A New Hope, he's just a dude who's in charge and may or may not be above Darth Vader.
He's just
Like,
that old white guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I-
But in this one, there's, like, he's got the power struggle stuff that we're talking
He's
about.
got motivations.
I'm legit concerned now that they might use that technology for the young Han Solo movie, though.
No, they've already
No,
established who's
not
playing...
Because that would be really bad.
No, they've already established who's playing him, and they got an actor who kind of looks like young Harrison Ford.
Okay,
So,
that's
I
good.
mean,
That's good. I mean,
Okay.
but the thing, like, I mean, I guess because it's set at the exact same time as Star Wars, so they had to have Grand Moff Tarkin be Grand Moff Tarkin, and later on they needed to have Princess Leia be Princess Leia. And I guess
But again,
I thought that they did
honestly-
really well with Leia. Leia was actually a lot harder to...
yeah, because
notice.
she doesn't move as much.
Yeah.
She's only on screen for a couple seconds.
Single syllable.
I was honestly surprised. I was honestly surprised when he turned around and it was Peter Cushing. I saw like a bit of the reflection and I thought, oh, he's just not gonna like turn and look at the villain of this movie. It's gonna be like a cute little in-joke for the fans, and you see a little bit of the reflection that I assumed was like they got a lookalike for the actor,
Yeah.
and then they got like archive footage to like green screen in the reflection.
Yeah.
So when he turned around, I was like, oh shit, he's gonna like have like a part in this movie? He's gonna be like a thing?
Yeah, and his character they did a lot of good stuff with him. I like that they made him even more of a scumbag by having him steal his one accomplishment from the scientists who created the Death Star.
Yeah.
By the
Also,
way,
I love the poetic irony of him then using it on the guy he stole it from.
yeah.
The idea of the dude who built the Death Star being killed by the Death Star.
Star
is perfect.
Yeah, that was a good end to his sort of villainous arc.
I just love the way that
It was
it's
like
fake.
almost a karmic...
Yeah.
I know, and I love that
comeuppance.
it wasn't. I kind of wanted more pain and more like, oh fuck, but I still like that there was at least that little bit on his face, like, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Is this really happening?
Yeah, he just
Are you fucking? Come on.
And I feel like it was even more significant because he was probably the only one there that knew what was happening, and he just had no choice but to watch.
and the Death Star on the horizon was very intimidating.
Yes.
Like they did that well.
I had no idea they could warp something that big.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't the Death Star warp into a system at one point?
It's like, just right on the-
Shows how much attention I pay.
But Tarkin, I think they did a lot of good stuff with. I feel like maybe the biggest problem with him was the compositing. Like, he seemed like he had like an outline around him at all times. And I think that it may have been hurt by the fact that we saw it in 3D.
Maybe.
Because
actually, I feel like that's probably the only reason why I didn't notice it, because I have such a hard time like seeing details when it's in 3D.
And I generally, a lot of CGI effects blow me away in the theater, and then I see them on DVD, and it's like, oh shit. Because I remember Spider-Man 2 looked absolutely flawless in the theater on an IMAX screen. It looked amazing.
Yeah.
And then I got it on DVD, and I remember the fight with Doc Ock. It's like, oh, it's okay. I mean, that's still cool, but it's still clearly CGI.
Yeah, you're not getting those great textures. But I mean, Spider-Man's kind of different because Spider-Man's very animated. Like, they didn't do a lot of mocap. They had like Spider-Man's cartoony in its action scenes. This is
Sam Raimi.
this is trying to be like very realistic movement and everything, and I don't think it holds up in that regard. And I think that because it was 3D, stuff like his reflection in the window was just like, well, he's not actually physically there. I
did appreciate that a lot of the effects that they used were actually practical effects.
Oh yeah, there were tons of practical
that's why
explosions
and that's why I have no problem with the Peter Cushing effect, even when it doesn't work. Because you know what? Fuck it. So much of this movie works when it shouldn't have. Oh.
Thanks, refrigerator. I'm not sure if that's not getting picked up. We're fine. But for those of you who are wondering and maybe hear a slight buzzing noise, you need to go see a doctor.
That's on you.
There's a cream for that.
That's all you. That didn't happen in this room. But yeah, they even used, I think, puppets for most of the aliens, which is something that they did in
Force.
in the Force Awakens too, which I really appreciated. I really appreciated how many practical effects they used. They really, in these movies, they've made like a point of only using the CGI to enhance the realism instead of using it to create entire sets.
Yeah.
And
George Lucas. Sorry, I don't know.
I feel like that was actually one of the major reasons that the prequels were not so well received is they just seem fake.
They look
because of
garbo.
the CG.
They look garbo.
But I mean, yeah,
Way
this
too
one,
much CG.
this one's got the practical effects, and again, like we were saying, it has what's the most important element in any goddamn movie. You give a shit about these characters.
You
Can
really
we
do.
talk about this amazing cast of characters?
Okay,
I found myself really, really hoping, like, I was thinking, okay, everyone's gonna die, but the robot's gonna survive because robots can live forever, and he'll show up in the new Star Wars movies that are coming out, and everyone's gonna love it. And then he got shot, and I was like, no, look. They didn't shoot him in the head. That's where his brain-thinking compositor computer
And
is.
then you see
and then the Death Star shows up, and you're like,
I mean, it would have been neat if he got launched into space. I agree. I love his line where it's like, so what happens if we don't have the right call sign? Well, then they'll close the shield and we'll die in the vacuum of space. I mean, you will, not me. I don't need to breathe.
I
can survive in space.
But yeah, I actually, again, I was telling you about the comic before the podcast. I was telling you about the comic that was making fun of how dark and depressing the ending was. And yeah, the punchline included like the silhouette of the robot. So he was the one character I knew going into this was going to die. Aww. So the entire movie, I'm like, oh no, I love him so much. He's so adorable.
He's such a snarky asshole.
He's my favorite character.
He's like a great counterpoint to C-3PO because he's just as much of like a sarcastic bitch.
But he's funny.
But he's competent. Yeah. He's competent enough to back up all of his complaints. They're like, why don't you stay on the ship? And it's like, okay, the droid stays on the ship because in every Star Wars movie, the droid's not staying on the ship is a fucking problem. And like 4 times he comes out and saves their asses because he's an Imperial destroyer droid who can just kick everybody's butts.
Yeah, someone throws a grenade at him. He just like, without even looking, picks it up.
He continues his conversation.
Them, and then throws the grenade at a bunch of guys with them.
That was my favorite part with the grenade, and him going, "You're right, I shouldn't have been here." He like killed 7 guards.
My favorite. Oh god,
Did you know that wasn't me?
Sure.
Yeah, I love that part where he's just like working the console, and then he's just like, all right, okay, boom, shoots the guy without even looking at him as he's coming through the door.
He's such a badass.
I was waiting for like when main character Chan hands him the gun, and he's just like, your behavior continues to exceed my expectations. I thought he was going to continue and going with its stupidity, and then
but it's like no,
that was his one like
his legitimate.
He had a moment with her.
Yeah.
And again, this script is so smart. It has those. It's like you give a shit about these people. There's a heart to it, even though he's a snarky asshole. There's that line, and there's that line where we love him.
Yeah,
he's everything we want in a lead character.
I love how they subvert a lot of Star Wars cliches with him too. Like C-3PO, anytime he's confronted by stormtroopers, he's screwed, right? But like this guy, he's confronted by 3 stormtroopers. They've got guns pointed at him, and they're like, and he's like, the rebels, they went in there, and it's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, okay, this isn't working. Picks up one of them, smashes him into the other two, and then knocks him out on the floor.
I love that he picks up a stormtrooper and beats the other two unconscious with his body.
Yeah.
Like a club.
Yeah, no, that was amazing.
I feel like a thing that's really important to Star Wars being Star Wars is a sassy robot, and just having one that has a voice makes it so much better because now he's not only sassy, he can also backtalk.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious seeing a robot that is somehow so terrible at pretending to be a robot.
Yeah, I mean, it's because he's been reprogrammed.
Where are you taking these prisoners? I'm taking the prisoners to be imprisoned in prison.
Yeah, he doesn't.
We'll take them from here. No, I've already taken them so far. I mean, I might.
He's so bad at lying. He's
got more human. He's got more human character than most of the characters in the prequels.
I kind of all of the characters in the prequels combined. I kind of wonder why either the Imperials or the Rebels, when they hack them, put human personalities into every robot. Like, remember Hitchhiker's Guide and Genuine People Personalities?
Yeah.
The doors with that self-satisfied sigh every time they close for you. And then, of course, the depressed, paranoid android that you inevitably end up with.
Rest in peace, Alan Rickman.
So cruel. It's so cruel to give a robot a personality, but they do that to all of them in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, there's a part of me that wonders do they program the personalities into the robots when they hack them, or do they have the personalities to begin with, and that's why they're being decommissioned?
Like they've developed, like instead of PTSD, they've developed like human emotion, and that's what makes them useless.
That would be a really interesting thing, like a side story where they're like the rebels get all of their droids by sneaking into the Imperial decommissioning facility and getting the ones who've gained sentience.
It's like a robot underground railroad.
Yeah, that's
Show
cool.
them kittens and see which of them know how to love.
Oh God!
But yeah, that would actually be really interesting. If
hate.
like the computer systems that run these droids are so advanced that they learn and adapt so that they can better deal with situations, but eventually they gain like some sort of sentience or personality, and that's when they go, "Yep, next model."
So and the Jawas
are actually heroes rescuing these poor droids from their decommissioned fate.
So I knew again about R2 die, and I didn't know about him like what happened
K2?
or K2 dying, but
R2 dies?
Oh my God! When?
No. But I mean. What I love, according to Force Awakens, he goes into a coma, like soap opera style. But with Donnie Yen as they're doing a parody, not a parody, they're just doing a Star Wars version of like Zatoichi, like the blind swordsman trope. I went in this thinking, oh, cool. Donnie Yen is going to be in this huge, like, American blockbuster, and we're going to see, like, some cool martial arts, because that's why you would cast Donnie Yen. I had no idea that Donnie Yen has impeccable comic timing.
Oh God, he was... That bit where they pull the whole theater laughed when they pull the bag over his head, and he's like, seriously? I'm blind!
The entire audience lost it. We were laughing for like 5 minutes after that joke had ended. Like, they're trying to have a serious conversation about politics or some shit, and the audience is still trying to recover from, are you serious? I'm blind!
What do you think this is going to accomplish?
They do a really good job, I think, of making you like every single character in like very short succession. Like, obviously...
In different ways.
In different ways. Like,
the Force is with me. I'm with you. I shot them.
Even when they don't use humor, you're with the pilot. You're with him because you see him getting tortured for trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Like that's another that's what I find interesting. They found different ways. Also, that's a segue. I love that this film doesn't sugarcoat the Rebels' shortcomings.
Yeah.
The other films are always like squeaky clean, good versus evil, we're plucky upstarts and all that. This film's like, no, the rebels got some shit.
The rebels on Jeddah are straight terrorists.
Yeah.
The rebels on Jeddah, they have like
They're
polygraph test. They have a polygraph test monster that drives you insane by reading your mind. They go into a crowded street and start shooting random people. And it's like, okay, so there are obviously anti-imperial extremists, and you see that and you're like, I could totally see the logic behind somebody wanting to work for the Empire and wanting to protect the Empire. Like this scientist, the main bad guy, he's like, we're going to bring peace and stability to the galaxy by creating the Death Star, because then nobody will like be able to stand up to us. And it's like, okay, that's kind of fucked up, but like if you think about it, is that any more fucked up than having nuclear warheads and using those to deter anybody from attacking you?
The guy's like, oh yeah, we're gonna build the Death Star and hold this giant stick over the rest of the universe so they don't do shit, and you're like, that's a bad move. And then you suddenly see a bunch of civilians in the streets getting shot by rebels because they're in the crossfire, and you're like, maybe he's...
But it's not even like Star Wars Al-Qaeda that I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, you've got the council meeting, and you see the pussies and the pansies on this that are just like, oh, I like, actually...
I didn't think there was gonna be fighting involved in this war.
We're gonna have to, like, risk our lives to get what we want. It's like, wow, we are seeing the good, virtuous side of the rebels. Mm-hmm. We are seeing the crazy, militant, psychotic, sadistic side of the rebels. And we're seeing the cowardly, pathetic side of the rebels. Like, they do not get they get, by the end of it, a pretty decent picture of what they are like the other Star Wars films. Yeah. But this is not a movie that sugarcoats it. This is a movie that's like, yeah, no, there are a lot of factions in the rebel camp that are just a nuisance. They are just a detriment to the cause.
And I think they're kind of setting up how the galactic government in The Force Awakens became so ineffectual.
Yeah.
Too. Because, like, you see this infighting within the Rebel Council, which obviously would become the new Senate.
Right.
And, like, the Rebel Alliance, I mean... Oh, God, I love the Akbar aliens.
the Mon Calamari.
Which were puppets again, yeah.
I was honestly surprised that one of them wasn't, like, Private Akbar or something.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing, and then when the movie happened, you kind of think, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
But there was a part of me that was hoping that, like, at the end there, he'd be like, Akbar, I leave my fleet to you, or something like that.
Well, I mean, the only characters they brought in for, like, a cameo who were totally unnecessary to the plot...
The bar guys?
Yeah.
R2 and C3PO.
R2 and C3PO's throwaway line on the... Also...
I guess that did hint, though, that Princess Leia was a part of the Rebel fleet.
Yeah, and that does set up that ending, which, again, I do love that they have, like... It's that ship at the beginning of A New Hope that Darth Vader boards isn't a full ship. That's just this minor escape pod from this giant destroyer. Mm-hmm. That then it's like, oh, this isn't just like something that happens before A New Hope. This ties in seconds into A New Hope.
This movie ends right before A New Hope.
And it's exactly why would Darth Vader personally track down this little ship in the middle of space in his cruiser? It's because he knows that they have the Death Star plans and they escape just out of his fingertips, so he chases them down.
I know, and I'm waiting for like this dude to be like with the Death Star plans to just like hand it to Princess Leia. And instead, this dude gets locked in a room with Darth Vader slowly coming towards him. Like, that's the worst. No. That is such a terrible way to die.
With all of those people shooting at him. And, man, when Darth Vader goes off on those guys, he goes off on them. Like, he's just, like, using the Force to pick up their blasters, tossing them to the side.
Didn't he grab a laser at one point and throw it back?
He grabbed their guns, threw them away, pulled out his lightsaber. So now they're all unarmed anyways. Yeah. But instead he's like, you know what? I mean, I know that you're literally no threat to me, but I might as well, while I'm here, trim the hedges.
They are rebel scum after all. But I feel like there was a part where he grabbed something that was shot at him and shot it back into one of the guns.
I think he might have.
That was a second before he stole their guns. He's like, all right, that's enough shooting for you.
I might have missed that. That's the drunk guy.
Oh, yeah. Drunk guy kind of ruined the whole end of this, but we should talk about him after spoiler time.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh god, Darth Vader was really, really strong in this movie. He had a good presence. They didn't overuse him.
He was very well used.
I know, they didn't overuse him like the prequels overused Jango Fett.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh look, it's that character you guys like. No,
and I do find it interesting that it is like that perfect balance. It's not like a pointless cameo, but it's not like Darth Vader's in this movie. It's like, no. Here he is, and he has the amount of screen time he deserves in this story without taking it away from the other characters.
And that was really good too, because go ahead. Every time he showed up, you knew shit was going down. You knew that it was a serious moment. It was never like, it's Darth Vader. It was like, oh no,
it's Darth Vader.
Yeah, I think they made him scarier than he is in some of the films.
I did find it kind of silly how he during that one scene, he has that fucking 80s action movie line careful you do not choke on your ambition.
I thought that was actually really good.
That was really clever.
Did Darth Vader just make a freaking pun?
Yeah!
When the serious guy makes a joke, you're like, oh gee.
But what I find interesting was that he does that.
Yeah.
But I find that interesting he does that to the main villain of this movie. And the look on that guy's face isn't like, oh shit, I should heed this warning. He's like, yeah, I got the go-ahead from Darth Vader. I'm gonna be the motherfucking badass of this. And it's like, dude, he just told you to calm your tits.
Yeah, but I mean,
he just choked you. You're on the ground because he choked the fuck out of you like you owed him money.
But to be fair, that's how Darth Vader says hello to Imperial officers.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there's precedent.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like at some point, there had to have been an HR meeting for the Empire where it's like, look, he keeps choking me whenever I disagree with him. I just want him to stop eating my fucking sandwiches out of the refrigerator in the break room.
I don't even know how he does it. He's got that gas mask on the whole time.
Yeah, and meanwhile there's some dude in the car just some dude in the car is I don't want to tell him that I've the one been eating the sandwiches and I just haven't had the heart. Just some random dude.
I'm picturing image of walking into a break room, Darth Vader having his helmet off, just eating a sandwich.
See, I'm picturing Darth Vader goes into the fridge, picks someone's lunch out, goes to the observation deck, and he pulls out a sandwich. And he puts it up to his helmet, and it doesn't go in, and he goes, no!
I just like the image of someone is that my sandwich? No, it is my sandwich. With the hand wave and everything. I wonder where my sandwich went. And then just Darth Vader walks away.
Yeah, this is not the sandwich you're looking for.
This was, oh god. Darth Vader was used really well.
He's straight up terrifying in this.
Oh yeah.
He is, every other film has been okay, he's a cool badass and we all love Darth Vader. This film, he is a fucking force of nature. Mm-hmm. Every time he shows up, he wrecks shit. He just tears through these people like they are nothing.
There's no Jason in a horror movie.
There's no Jedi to compete with him. I mean, maybe the monk is a Jedi.
They never meet. Which
I thought that the monk had potential to be a Jedi, but what happened was he wasn't allowed because I guess he was too old.
Well, there was no Jedi Order at the time that he was being trained up.
He's basically just a self-taught Jedi.
Yeah, he's part of a bunch of people who worship the Force, and he's clearly Force-attuned because he's blind and shooting people.
He was very
you don't
clearly
do that with hearing.
One with the Force, and the Force was with him.
Yeah. And
he said that a lot.
Exactly, and that was a prayer that's not with other Jedi. That's his own thing, but it's very Jedi-like. So, I was telling you guys again before the podcast, it just feels like he's supposed to be a different denomination of Jedi because they call them Guardians in this one.
They basically took care of the Jedi Temple
Yeah, the
after
temple
the fall of them.
where they get the crystals that they put in lightsabers.
Yeah, it's like the difference.
I thought
between
that was
Catholic
really
and Christian.
interesting that it's like, oh, hey, the giant death machine is powered by Jedi crystals. And then they outright said it in the movie, and I'm like, oh, no, I don't feel so clever.
Yeah, but it would have been nice if they left some details out. But I mean, it's a DC or it's a Disney movie. They're not going to leave out any details because the audience is the lowest common denominator.
Also, it's kind of stupid, but for like the first couple of times they said it, I thought they were saying Kaiba crystals, and I just kept thinking of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Seto Kaiba, yeah.
They weren't?
Screw the rules. I have crystals.
But I do like the implication that the Death Star is a giant lightsaber.
Yeah.
One thing that I really liked, it's like a small thing, but right at the beginning, that opening shot, like after the Galaxy Far, Far Away thing, they skipped the title crawl. But from that, it jumps to the rings of a ringed planet and just this tiny ship skirting across the horizon. And that's such a great contrast to how every other Star Wars saga opens, where it's like this big, immense thing. It's like, this is a small side story. Mm-hmm. This is like, the hope is minimal, but the stakes are like high. And that leads into a great introduction for Jin, which is, you see your family killed, and that you really connect to her. Sorry,
I was going to say about Jin's dad. I'm fascinated by this character because he is specifically designed to fix a plot hole that fans have joked about for decades.
Yes.
This is the creator of this movie going up to every Star Wars fan who's made a joke about the weakness in the Death Star, slapping them in the face and being, you just weren't creative enough to think of a good reason why that was there. Suck it.
Yeah, so Jin's dad is an Imperial engineer who's an expert in these crystals, the Kaiba crystals.
And he's being forced to work on the Death Star against his will.
Because they're initially they were going to threaten him with his family, but then he got to the Death Star and he realized that the guy who was trying to force him to work with him was capable of doing it on his own and just hadn't realized it yet. So he's like, okay, I'm going to pretend to go along with this so that I can build a weakness into the Death Star and help the rebels defeat it one day. And
so he builds in the weakness, that simple
the exhaust port.
The thermal exhaust port
that leads straight to the reactor. And he's like, look, you shoot this with anything anywhere near it, it's going to blow up the whole damn space station. And man, Mads Mikkelsen's been in a lot of movies lately.
I know, and that was the thing was, I remember going into Doctor Strange I'm a huge Mads Mikkelsen fan since Casino Royale, and he hadn't really done anything big Hollywood in a couple of years. He'd done a lot of foreign films,
and Hannibal, which is a big deal.
I missed Hannibal, but I mean, it was I missed him in a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then this year, he's been in Doctor Strange and this, and he's got he's
going to be in Kojima's game Death Stranding.
Exactly. So it's
whatever that ends up being.
As someone who loves Mads Mikkelsen and wants him to be in everything, I am very happy that 2016 has at least given me Mads Mikkelsen in two of the best movies of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And soon in Norman Reedus and his ghostly fetus.
That was the Kojima thing Izzy was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Death Stranding.
But, yeah, no, Matt, and he does a really good job being a sympathetic character in this one. And
which I've never seen before. Again, I've heard he's pretty good in Hannibal doing that. But I've never seen him doing, the nice guy.
But, I mean, in Hannibal, he's a sociopath.
Right.
Playing people.
He's Hannibal.
Yeah, whereas in this, he's, a genuinely nice guy. And, I mean, he's got that harsh German face that makes him look like a bad guy.
Why else would he be a Bond villain?
Yeah. But he's got a really great acting range, and he does a really good job as Jin's father. He does a good job of motivating her. If I had one complaint about how the characters are handled in this movie, it's that every single one of them accomplishes their one thing and then dies.
I felt like when the guy went up to the platform with his sniper rifle and it's like, I'm going to shoot the guy. I'm like, it's a huge lab facility. what are the chances you're even going to see this guy and recognize him? And then it's like, oh, yep, I'm just walking out on the platform wearing a different uniform than all my friends.
Yeah, that was, and yeah, that...
Were they expecting them to just all walk outside of the facility?
Yeah, I can understand that, like... Well, he's wearing a different uniform because he's their boss. He's higher up. Obviously, the higher-ups have different uniforms in the Empire.
They have no reason to know that they're all going to be up on that platform.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's weird.
When he's like, oh yeah, his gun's in sniper configuration, he's probably going to kill someone. I'm like, is he just going to shoot a guard?
Here's the funny part. I thought I saw a plot hole, and that wasn't it, but it's the exact same scene. Was anyone else kind of bothered by how quickly Jin was just able to scale that ladder, considering what a head start he had to get in that position with the sniper rifle? She was able to catch up with him, go down the supposedly longer path, up the ladder, and then get into position on, like, to interfere with the sniper firing and all that, at roughly the same time as him with a huge lead getting into position.
The only thing that I could
looking at them through the sniper rifle for a good bit
that's
before she
the only
showed
thing that I could think of. And then like he was just waiting for someone to walk out, and then he handed the binoculars to the pilot and went, "Hey, is that a guy? No, how about Alan? Okay, how about now?"
Oh, yeah, we're in the hour point. Do we want to give?
I just want to talk honorable mention.
Like a quick heads up to anyone.
So if you're not actually, the hour point's going to be a little bit further along because we have to cut out some parts at the beginning and the part where you hit the table.
I just want to talk about the hammerhead.
Yeah,
because when the engines cut out on the Star Destroyer, I'm like, oh man, are they going to do the thing? And then the Admiral was like, I have an idea, call it a hammerhead. And I'm like, oh, they're going to do the thing. And then the thing crashed into it, and I'm like, they're doing the thing. And then it crashed into the other one, and I'm like, oh my god, they double did the thing! That's awesome!
That was really cool.
I think that might be my new favorite Star Wars ship.
All of the space battles in this were really good.
Yes.
All of the ground battles, like, this new version of the Star Wars franchise, they've done a really, really good job of making the battles feel realistic and weighty.
Especially when, like, support vehicles show up.
Just like I said, my one complaint is that everybody has their moment and dies.
Yes.
And it's like, I patched through the communications. Oh, there's a grenade in the thing. I mean, like, with the monk, it makes sense because he's, like, the force is with him just long enough for him to do that.
Yeah.
But then, like, and with the robot, it makes sense, too.
And I would say it also made sense with the monk's friend. I would say the one time it stuck out with me was the one you pointed with. That was the one where I'm like, that timing is a bit odd.
That didn't feel like an I'm dead moment. That seemed really quickly cut.
I was actually expecting it to be a smaller cast of Suicide Mission and have them die off progressively throughout the course of the film.
Instead of all at once at the end.
Instead of all at once at the end, and also instead of like, okay, now here's 12 more guys because we need fodder.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of lost that scrappy team thing, which is fine. It didn't need to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of liked that they had those extra guys in there just to have that extra moment of like, Jin, we believe in you. Like, here are these other guys that all want to make up for what they've done too.
That was a good scene.
And they were
powerful.
And it was good because, like,
Diego Luna's so fucking good in this movie.
And yeah, they all of them were characters who like were morally conflicted about things they'd done for the rebel cause.
They were basically scumbags.
Yeah, the first scene with this movie's Han Solo, he shoots an ally in the back
just so he doesn't have to deal with them, and so he can't be interrogated.
Exactly. It's like, holy like that was the tone setter on this movie was, holy shit, the hero is shooting people in the back.
I was waiting for him to get his karmic comeuppance. And then when the, like, sort of almost romance thing happened, like, when they had a moment when their faces were close together and they were, like, looking each other in the eyes, I'm like, no. This movie does not need a romantic subplot. They're all strong characters on their own.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, don't kiss.
And then they separated, and I'm like, okay, it's cool. But then it came back to that, and I'm like,
you know what? But it was a hug. That's two friends consoling each other in a dark moment. That's fine.
In the moment of they're getting erased by the Death Star, which I feel I feel is an okay moment to give somebody a
that makes
hug.
sense.
Definitely.
Although, one thing I thought was weird. Is it weird that the pilot just kind of got over having his mind wiped?
I think
he got better.
Yeah,
it wasn't even a gradual thing. It was just
what's
the
it was
next
very,
scene. He's like,
very
okay,
quick.
I'm fine now.
it was a plot convenience for sure because
and I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that like they had a longer scene there and just cut it for time because they were like, okay, this drags on, because we've had that moment where it's like you think you need that moment and then it's like, this
I
just
do
drags
feel
the
like
movie
they could have kind of downplayed the "it'll turn you insane" moment a little bit,
Yeah,
so it'll be like, but it might
honestly,
affect
it
your
didn't
mind
go
a bit.
anywhere.
Yeah, I was honestly like when they were talking about that, I got the impression that the idea was supposed to be it would turn you insane if you lied. So when he was actually like all fucked up, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's just a terrible way to actually interrogate people, and they're making a statement on interrogation. But then it got better, and I was just like, okay, so maybe it's not that severe because he didn't lie. What the fuck?
I was worried that when
I
it stuck
got-
its tentacles on him, that it was going to be Brain Bug from Starship Troopers all over again.
And
I got the impression that it was just like, it'll fuck with your head in general.
yeah. That's the
I thought it
impression
was
I
going
got
to be a
too.
permanent thing, and then he got better.
which reminds me, one thing we still haven't talked about, because he doesn't have that much screen time, but he makes the most of it. Forrest Whitaker is terrifying in this too.
Oh, as the terrorist leader?
As a
Yes.
soul.
Yeah.
As Star Wars Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, I mean, like with the beard and everything, he straight up is. And like,
they make him surprisingly sympathetic right at the end of his bit. And it's like, oh shit, they're actually gonna like make this like a loving father figure character out of nowhere. Like him actually explaining his motivations that early on. And I was thinking like, oh shit, is he gonna be like...
no, as soon as you
coming along on the
develop an
adventure?
emotional connection to anybody in this movie, they're dead.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I don't know. The
I don't
robot took a while.
The robot took. I mean,
The robot. That was love at first sight.
Oh, he's great.
And when he took that first shot and kept going, you're like, he's gonna live.
Yeah,
I know. Like, yeah.
I just wanted to lie to myself.
I mean,
No, me too.
He went down. He went down like a real hero. But yeah, Forrest.
Not giving a shit. That
Not-
was like a huge part of his character was just not
Yeah.
giving a
And
shit.
I just love that he's like locking it down, and he makes it sound like he's gonna like hit some button, and instead he's just like, no, I have to end this as a badass, like the badass I've been this entire movie. Shutting it down is smashing the entire fucking console with my body.
So there's no way to open the vault. Luckily, that did seal the vault instead of opening it, which
Could have done either one.
could have done either
Like,
one. But yeah, I don't know. Like they did a really, really, really good job of like painting the morally gray sides of the Star Wars universe in this movie. Which, yeah, I think that's something that was needed.
I mean, the villains are still pretty much just the villains, but yeah, just the fact that they went into like the scum of rebel scum.
Yeah.
But like you can totally see why like you would want to drone strike that planet to get rid of
But they
Space
don't,
Osama.
But it's like, again,
Like-
they don't explore the idea of good people in the Empire. It's just, you could see where that might come
Well,
from.
I mean, Jim's father.
Yeah.
But no, Jin's father is a good guy for the
He's there
rebels. He
against
builds
his
in.
will.
Yeah, but he started off in the Empire.
Yeah, and
Oh, I suppose that's true.
And yeah, the thing is that the good people in the Empire end up defecting, but that doesn't mean that there aren't bad people in the rebellion. Because
I do love Jin pointing out, like, she's just straight like, why would I join you? You are literally responsible for every bad thing that has happened in my life.
That is a fair point.
yeah, it was just a good movie all around. Definitely.
If you haven't seen it, go see it.
I mean, if you haven't seen it at this point, we've spoiled everything, so I apologize for that. But we're basically out of spoiler territory now, except to talk about the drunk guy.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun, 20 minutes or so.
I think
the last half hour of this movie we had a new character added to the Star Wars universe.
Drunk bald man in the front row, throwing his 3D glasses and
His drink
at the screen and just standing up and shouting quotes from the movie at the screen in the middle of the screening. And he wasn't the only factor that ruined the movie either. Like, you had kids behind you.
They felt the need to explain to each other whenever a new character showed up. Like, I felt like one of them, the one that was directly behind me, had seen the movie before. And so he's like, oh, this guy does this, or this guy is this part of the movie. And I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
And
That's so cool. Your version of the film came with an audio commentary.
Exactly.
And there were the kids in front of us, too, who were laughing at the bald guy.
Just encouraging
making an ass of
him.
himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, God, I mean, the bald...
Someone had like a... Did you hear the bubblegum popping?
The pop?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like there was some really dramatic scene and someone would have a line and then there would be a dramatic pause and you'd hear just this pop. And then it did it like 3 times and then I'm like, is that part of the movie? And then the 4th time it didn't do it and I'm like, nope, it's someone in the audience.
Don't do bubblegum in movies, kids. But yeah, the drunk guy was the absolute worst. He was just shouting out random quotes from the movie.
Like Darth Vader would show up and he stood up. He stood up and screamed, "Luke, I am your father!" Like, you guys, I guess, knew he was drunk. I thought he was mentally challenged. I thought... Because it was
just from the fact that
I walked
he wasn't
in
doing that through the whole movie.
when I was
he
trying
was
to
obviously getting
find
progressively drunk.
when I was trying to find seats for us, I went down to sort of the area where he was because there were a lot of seats there, and I went, nope, this smells too much like alcohol. I'm going to back up a bit.
Yeah, I saw that guy in the front row. I was like, nope, not going anywhere near him.
Yeah,
He was like throwing up peace signs in front of the screen and stuff.
Yeah, that was... But again, he was like... He was slurring his speech so much that it was like... I'm... Like, it was like, okay, you gotta be like blackout drunk at that point. Again, my first thought was just like... He was just like... Like, oh, yeah, let's take Jimmy to the movies. He hasn't been out in a long time.
No.
You know, it's like, no, he was just some asshole who got super hammered and then thus decided to, like... turn the last third of Rogue One into like his own personal performance art.
He was trying to be funny by just quoting old Star Wars movies really loudly, which, I mean, he was trying to do that thing that you do in bad movies.
Yeah.
So
there were a few amusing lines, like when they were dressing up in their camouflage, and I went, "Isn't she a little short to be a stormtrooper?"
Yeah, but you say it quietly.
Yes.
Or unless it's Resident Evil, in which case you say it at talking volume, because Resident Evil is not always worth your attention. I remember you told me you were in the theater once, and Alice's clone came out, and you were like, "Oh, am I a lesbian now? Oh, I am a lesbian."
Yeah, that went places, definitely.
But like, you gotta laugh is the thing. You could read the room, and like this asshole was getting nothing. He was getting nothing from anybody. Nobody
except shut the fuck up.
From you, from me, from
Izzy,
Jonathan.
Yeah. Is there some other guy behind us that I didn't know?
Yeah, and I like his wife was, or I hopefully ex-wife at this point was like tugging on his sleeve. Yeah, was trying to make him sit down. Eventually she left like right after the movie because she didn't want to get banned from the theater. He walked out the front of the theater.
Yeah, she went out the side door.
I booked it to the theater lobby to make sure that I could get to somebody, contact the manager, and it'd be like, okay, see this guy, look at this guy. Don't let him back in the theater. He was making a huge ruckus. He was ruining the movie for everybody. Manager gave us passes.
Yeah.
I didn't even want the passes because it wasn't their fault. I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you very much to the manager of my local Cineplex for doing that.
Yeah.
But this guy was just being a nuisance, and he like, as soon as I came down to like be like, this guy was making a huge ruckus, please ban him from this theater. Of course, he came over to start a fight with me. He was like, "You look like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory." And then what did he tell you looked like?
He didn't say I looked like anyone. He called me McDick.
No,
McFoley, and then
McFoley.
He said I looked like McFoley, but then he started calling me McDick.
Was
But it
Was that supposed to be McLovin and Foley from...
I don't know.
Maybe.
Isn't Mick Foley the name of a wrestler or something?
It could be Mick Foley, yeah.
Maybe, but I don't know what the reference was.
And he was staring down both of us.
Again, before I realized he was drunk, all I'm picturing is, oh God, please, Geoff, don't pick a fight with Medley.
I wasn't gonna pick a fight with him.
Again, but I didn't know that you were just going to a manager. You got up and booked after him.
Oh, of course, because I needed to...
And I saw you...
Someone lit a fire under him.
Yeah, you stood up. You stood up a couple times in the theater when he would stand up, and I kept waiting for you,
no, I got up in my seat a little. I didn't
But you got up a couple times, and I kept waiting. So when the movie ended, he gets up, and you get up and just fucking book it. I turn to Izzy and go, I'm going to make sure Geoff doesn't start punching some dude in the lobby. And I run down there, and I see the guy for the first time in with the lights not dimmed, and it's like, oh, he's just some drunk asshole.
Yeah.
And I go again. I went there with the intention of toning it down and keeping things calm and cool. Instead, before I've had a chance to say a goddamn word, this guy's turned on me, starts with the McFoley stuff, and threatens to beat the shit out of me.
Yeah,
I haven't said a word to this guy.
And he's like, you want to go outside, man? Bear in mind, I'm 6'6".
I'm 6'3".
Max 6'3". Max 6'3" and huge. Like, I wouldn't fuck with you.
I don't know. This guy, he was slightly shorter, but he looked a little bit bigger, so I wouldn't necessarily pick a fight with him.
He had a beer gut. He had a beer gut. He was flabby, but I mean, I wouldn't pick a fight with anybody in a movie theater because I don't want to get kicked out of the theater. Yeah. I'm just
you're just looking at this guy what the fuck are you...
you're
picking a fight with two dudes who have, a foot on you.
Yeah, first off, you're picking a fight in a public place. What are you, 14? But secondly, you're picking a fight with two guys who, quite frankly, you have no chance of intimidating. I was just concerned that he was going to, take a cheap shot at me. That was, my one concern.
I know. I was half expecting the sucker punch the entire time we were talking.
Because he was, leaning in. But the good thing he was so drunk that I would have been able to react to it in time, I think. But anyway, I'm not,
By the time I came out of the theater, he had already, gone outside and I guess was waiting for you.
Yeah, he was waiting for us to step outside, and then he came back in because he forgot his wallet.
And he was so meek when he came back in, though. He was hilarious. I lost my wallet. I think I left it in the theater, and you're like...
And I, with apparently zero survival skills, no instincts whatsoever, I decide I'm going to take a cheap shot at him verbally, because he's like, I lost my wallet in the theater. Did you throw it?
And he didn't even know that it was a joke.
And he was like, yeah, maybe.
Because he kept throwing shit, so I was just I just wanted to, throw that in his face.
And then a few seconds later, he just goes, What am I doing? Right, my wallet.
Yeah.
God, I just have this image of him, waiting outside to kick your ass, and oh shit, I forgot my wallet. I can't go back inside now. I look like an asshole.
And then,
I really need my wallet, though.
I saw him, pacing around. Fortunately, I think the manager talked to him after that, and I hope he is not welcome back to that theater, because Jesus fucking Christ, what a dick.
It's weird. Izzy and I have never had an experience like that until 2016, and now we've had two of them, because that happened to us during Popstar. The only difference was it was the first half of Popstar, because these people came to the theater drunk out of their fucking minds with a bag full of drinks.
With the intent of making fun of it, I'm guessing.
Like a fucking trash bag
and then,
beer.
And then and it was they got kicked out, right?
I do appreciate that this guy at least waited until the end of the movie
to get,
because he was already like that when we got in the theater, and I remember sitting down and next to the children and with the drunk guy in front, and I'm like, this was a mistake.
But yeah, I remember. It was weird realizing that he was drunk and that this had happened again, because that was literally the same thing as Popstar was. Someone getting drunk and throwing shit at the screen and loudly yelling shit, putting their own commentary on it. the only difference with like pop star instead of Star Wars quotes, it was like when a celebrity would make a joke cameo appearance, they'd be like, "Oh, that bitch ain't nothing." Or that's my boy right there. That's my boy.
Yeah.
Just had to give us his personal thoughts on every celebrity cameo.
And yeah.
So it's like, it's so weird that that's happened twice the same year, because I've never had shit like that happen in a movie theater before this point.
I think it's because of, oh wait, we're not talking about politics. You can draw your own conclusions about who I was talking about and how orange they are, but I'm not saying anything.
I don't know. I feel like those kinds of people would have stayed where they belong.
Oh, God.
I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just saying that they should stay home.
I mean, Jonathan.
No, like at home, if you're drunk, you shouldn't be in public.
Yeah, that's true.
What were you thinking?
I don't know, but I mean, no, he's allowed to say it. He's an orange American.
Oh my God.
At least in the hair department. Ish. I don't know.
Wah, wah, wah.
Anyway, that joke's running out. And drunk guy, if you're listening to this, fix your fucking life. Anybody in North Vancouver, if I do put this picture in the thumbnail, which I'm waffling on right now, but if you see Drunk Man's picture in the corner of this thumbnail and you see him at a movie theater, just fucking don't let him in. I would appreciate that, because I like seeing movies without people interrupting them.
Yeah.
Unless they're bad movies, in which case it has to be tasteful interruption, not just irreverent quotes from different movies.
Yeah, and like, if you don't get a laugh the first time, stop.
Yeah.
Comedy is hard. That's why the people who can do it professionally get paid a lot.
Yes. Okay, so on that note, let's dive into our weeks really quickly. I basically got back from Japan. We missed our flight by a day, so that was a bit of a headache. And I have a cold from Japan. But other than that, Yazi and I had a really good time there.
It's an imported cold.
She also got her 3DS stolen on the plane, which really sucks.
On the plane, too.
Yeah, either on the plane or in bag check, because her bag got sent ahead a day early. And it could be that somebody just opened it up and was like, oh, hey, a free 3DS, I'll take that.
Oh shit, look what came in the mail for me.
But yeah, some assholes either stole her 3DS or it got left behind somewhere, and it
fell out or something.
Yeah, and nobody returned it, which is like the same thing. But she's real sad about that right now. And there was a bunch of Vita and DS games in her case too. Oh. So she lost like 12 games, including her new run of Pokemon Moon. So that's not good. And as for me, I've just been like, I put out my new SAO video. It's doing pretty good. Let's see what it's at right now on my YouTube Studio app.
I bet it has at least 3 views.
Oh man, analytics is in for the night that I posted it. It's got 310,000 views.
I was close.
Nice.
I was off by 110,000.
I mean,
no,
you said more.
No, I meant
you were off by 300.
A multiplier of.
You were off by 309,997.
Math's not my strong point. I just wire stuff.
So, what did you get up to this week, Jonathan?
Oh, exams.
That's good. Electrician exams.
Yes.
And then Star Wars.
And then
Star Wars.
And what'd you guys get up to?
Collecting lines, finished the script for episode 11 a little while ago, so just been working on that.
So episode 10 was the last one that came out?
Yeah, that's the one with Yui.
Yeah,
And, and for me, like, the work I've got to do outside the show to support us, support me, but, like, so that we can actually have it so the Patreon can support you.
Yeah.
That I've been doing a lot of that work just to try and get more of it done than usual so that I can actually enjoy my Christmas vacation to a degree. So a lot of that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, just been working on that. And then every now and then taking little breaks to watch stuff like Tokyo Drifter. That's a weird
Barely
movie.
know her.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, if you guys enjoyed watching Sword Art Online Abridged after I plugged it in my last video, these guys have a Patreon too. What's that Patreon link?
Something Witty Entertainment. Search for that.
Patreon.com/somethingwitty-entertainment. Maybe. But yeah, go look it up because these guys make great stuff and honestly, they deserve your support. No shilling there. I just wanted to say that.
Much appreciated.
All right, so
Give to his Patreon too.
Yeah, here's the money you were promised. Much appreciated.
yeah. With that said, we're gonna dive into the mailbag now and answer some questions. So I asked for questions related to Star Wars and to SAO Abridged. And the first one comes from Mike Balla Jr.
Mike
Balla Jr.
Okay, it was just funny the way you said that.
Yeah, no, I'm tired.
Knowledge.
I think some of the drunk from Drunk Guy came off on, I don't know.
Oh, I mean, you have no idea what was in that breath of his.
Oh yeah, no, his breath was fucking. I think some of the paint peeled off my glasses.
So the question.
But yeah, so Mike Balla Jr. asks, SAO Abridged, will you go into the second arc and SAO 2? And then he has the longest signature that I have ever seen.
My God.
Guys,
on an email. It's like,
wow, that's just the.
I thought that was the body of the email.
yeah, no, that's
that one sentence at the top is the question, and that paragraph is his signature.
that 3 paragraphs is his signature.
Oh my God!
So I guess
But he concludes with good night and good luck, Mike Balla Jr. And then there's a lot of stuff about, I think, communism?
what the fuck?
I love you, Mike Balla Jr. You're a good man. All right, so
Izzy, you want to take that one?
second arc in SAO 2.
So short answer, yes. Long answer, also yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got plans. We've been working on a lot of ideas for Alfheim, Gungale, and beyond, and we are super excited about where the series goes from here. Like,
Yes.
we're right now, our main focus is just this next episode and making sure it's the best possible. But you have no idea how excited we are to get into the next couple arcs.
Yeah.
No. I have heard some stuff from these guys low key under NDA. Is good stuff. It's the good shit. All right, so some call me KJ. Asked which character is the best remade in SAO Abridged and why. They spelled witch WITCH. But I don't think there are any witches in SAO.
There's Grand Wizard Asuna.
There is Grand Wizard
close.
Asuna, and that is a really good character remake.
It would have to be, in my opinion, the obvious one, Kirito. Because, like, Kirito has a character now.
Yeah, he does. He is definitely the biggest overhaul, which is because, yeah, he was a cardboard cutout. So we had to do something with him.
Is like, oh, look at me. I'm so deep and interesting. All the girls hop on my dick.
I'm so dark and troubled, but
For
not really.
like,
Pretty much when it's dramatically convenient.
Yeah, it was like Twilight.
Twilight's more consistently written.
I think that the like vague existential horror angle you went with Yui was pretty good too.
Existential horror.
Yeah, you know the sky like playing up the Skynet a little bit was smart. I think. But I don't know. I really like.
I suppose that would be one of your picks just because of how much you hate Yui.
Yeah, no, I would probably go for Balls Deep 69 though. I think that you guys have really fleshed out his characters. Actually, no, I'm gonna take that back. What's the name of the NPC?
Which
Gary?
one?
Gary. Gary is my favorite character in SAO Abridged. We have to save my family!
And the sad thing is, yeah, he's a guy who can only say that one thing, and yet that's more character than he was given in the show.
Yeah, that was the joke. That's why we went with that joke, because those characters are that interchangeable and that nothing. Like, we were sitting there writing that script, and Izzy and I were like pounding our heads against the wall, like, what the fuck do we do with the rest of this guild? We had a good thing for the leader, we had a good thing for Sachi, and we had 3 more guys that we had to come up with jokes for to make them interesting. Yeah, they don't even have names. We had to try and come up with something interesting for them. And I can't remember if it was you or me, like which one of us was the one who turned to the other and went, fuck it, why aren't they just NPCs? Why don't we just make the joke that they have no character?
Worked out pretty well.
Gary's great. All right, we're following up with another question from Spoopy Scary Skeletons. My question is, what is your... Actually, they say what my suggestion is, but I assume that means question. What is your favorite Dragon Ball movie and why? Thanks, Remy.
I need to see more of the Dragon Ball movies, honestly. I actually haven't seen a lot of them.
Yeah, me neither.
The only one I can really...
The live-action one, definitely.
No. The only ones I can have like clear memories of, so that I can actually make a judgment on, are World's Strongest and Bardock.
I think I've seen World's Strongest and Tree of Might.
Yeah, I'd have to go, like, World's Strongest has some cool stuff, but I'm gonna have to go with Bardock just because, A, like, blue space pirate, and B, they do some really interesting matchups. They use the tournament as a great opportunity to do some really unique matchups and actually give the supporting cast some cool fight scenes, which a lot of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z tends to forget after a while. Like, after a while, some of, like, my favorite characters are just completely forgotten.
Yeah, because they power up a few of the characters to such an insane degree that it's like, well, who's going to care about these guys?
Everyone else can't
They look
keep
so
up.
pathetic in comparison, even though they're still basically gods.
I know, it's like Chad in Bleach, where it's like, yeah, no, he wasn't that useful in battle in Bleach, but that ending of Bleach is still like, oh, but then he goes on to be a boxer and fights regular people, and it's like, he's still powerful enough that he's probably beating all of those guys to death by accident.
Dude can punch a ghost to death. What's, like, some dude from the Bronx gonna do?
Oh, God. How about you guys? What are your favorite Dragon Ball movies?
I'm gonna go with Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh my God.
You're a monster.
You are dead to us.
No, okay, but seriously, Dragon Ball Evolution is one of the greatest unintentional comedies of all time.
Yeah,
The
story of how Goku learned to master the Kamehameha through his erection.
Yeah, but there's... I just love that they took the entirety of Dragon Ball Z and were like, what can we do with this Karate Kid? With that, before finishing that sentence, what can we make a Karate Kid? And like, Goku's the Karate Kid. He's trained by Mr. Miyagi. He goes to high school. He gets beat up by guys who, like, it's fucking Goku. He could literally destroy them by looking at them.
I just find it fascinating with that film, how they go out of their way to make every character wrong. Like,
No, that's why it's hilarious. It's
Goku's obsessed with girls, goes to school, and doesn't actually eat all that much, all things considered.
Goku wants to bang Chi-Chi. That's so wrong!
Yeah.
I love it.
And what was it? I'm blanking on his name. Wolf Fist.
Yamcha?
Yamcha doesn't know how to fight and has no problem talking to women.
That's true of Yamcha.
No, in the original series, he can fight. Like, originally in Dragon Ball, he can fight, and he had the whole crippling fear of talking to women.
Yes.
And they do the opposite of both of those in Evolution.
But, I mean, they're like, with that, it's like Yamcha from Z. Because I remember Yamcha from Dragon Ball being...
Even Yamcha in Dragon Ball Z at least, like, knew how to throw a punch. This guy...
But he got his ass kicked by everybody.
Yeah, like, androids and crazy things and all that, like... Again, they don't even give you the illusion where it's supposed to be an adaptation of Dragon Ball where the villain should be more on his level. Like, okay, Yamcha doesn't fight in that movie. He doesn't fight, like, the crazy demon things. He fights the hot ninja assassin lady who should be on his level.
Absolutely.
But they don't make it so that he knows how to fight. So he and Bulma have to team up and still pretty much get their asses kicked.
And Bulma does a better job fighting than he does, which
Although he does get the final shot because, he has the penis.
Yeah, and I mean, God, but it's stuff like that. It's stuff like Kamehameha is airbending.
They call it airbending! That's not an actual martial arts thing.
Yeah.
That's just from Avatar, you cheap hacks.
The shitty CGI monkey at the end, the shitty CGI Kamehameha, how he, jumps to throw the Kamehameha for no reason.
No, that's supposed to be flying. They're trying to do Dragon Ball Z flying.
No, but he can't. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Were they supposed to?
That's their way of showing, Saiyan flight.
But nobody can fly at that point. They don't teach them how to fly.
Yeah, now you see the frustration.
No, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious. And you know what's funny?
It could have actually been a worse adaptation if it weren't for the few people like Marsters, the guy playing Piccolo.
Yeah.
There were just this handful of people on that set doing their damnedest to do right by the series.
Right, and that's
they constantly undermined the people who didn't know the series to be like, no, fuck you, this is how my character is. Which is why Piccolo is one of the few things that kind of looks like, oh right, that's the guy from Dragon Ball.
And Chow Yun-Fat as Roshi, he's got some bad moments, but he clearly actually gave a fuck about that performance.
And again, that's another great example of I can't believe they went out of their way to not make him look like the character. Okay, they took a comic, a drawing of a bald, short, bearded man and cast him with a tall, full head of hair, clean-shaven man who... Oh, right, and also Roshi wears glasses. Yeah, Chow Yun-Fat doesn't wear glasses.
But he wears a Hawaiian shirt.
They went out of their way, aside from the Hawaiian shirt, they went out of their way to make Chow Yun-Fat look as little as Roshi as possible. They're like, well, he's Asian. That makes him Roshi, right?
Yeah, which is how they cast everybody. What? Chi-Chi was Jamie Lynn, right?
I think so.
Jamie Lynn's hot. That's about all I can say about her performance in that movie, because it was terrible. But it's fun to make fun of. There's so much to make fun of, and then it occasionally surprises you with, like you said, Piccolo turning in a decent performance.
And there is one scene where Goku acts like Goku, and if anything, that makes the movie harder for me to watch.
Where he's shoveling the food in his
He's got the
mouth.
Giant drumstick, and they have the joke. Oh, there's no Roshi in the directory. Try it under Master. I'm like, that's a Goku line. Holy shit. Fuck you, movie. You actually went out of your way to be like, oh, by the way, we've read Dragon Ball.
We choose to ignore everything.
Yeah, we
choose to make everything outside of this 1 minute not act like Dragon Ball. Just so this 1 minute sticks out where Goku is actually Goku. Because fuck you.
There's one other joke that works, which is when they go to the ancient training ground and it's a tourist spot. That's legit funny. It almost seems like they knew what they were doing and were just trying to make it as bad as possible for humor's sake. Like some of the decisions they make are so bad that they can't possibly have done that by accident. But then you remember it's Hollywood and they probably did.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
I'm probably going to get murdered for this, but I haven't actually seen any Dragon Ball movies as far as I know. So I'm going to pick Return of F because Frieza was a cool guy.
Resurrection. Okay, so if we're actually saying which one's the best, Battle of the Gods. No question. Battle of the Gods hits the humor of Dragon Ball. It's got really good action in it.
And I've heard I haven't seen it, but I have heard that that's one of the only Dragon Ball movies, you can correct me if I'm wrong, where the movie original villain is actually really well written.
Oh, Beerus is the best villain in Dragon Ball, hands down.
Is that the rabbit guy?
Yeah, a cat guy. He's
yes.
like an Egyptian
Persian.
Like a
jackal.
Yeah, he's like a jackal. He's a god of destruction, right? And he's so great because he's not really a villain. He's just he sees no value in human life or keeping planets around except for food. And the only thing keeping Earth around is we have really good cooks. And that's such a Dragon Ball thing. That's such a Toriyama storytelling element that we haven't had since like
Dragon Ball.
Since Goku and Piccolo learning to drive. That was the last moment when Dragon... Well, actually, no. Saiyaman Saga was fun like that, too. And then the Buu Saga was terrible. But, yeah, no, like... Beerus is a legitimately great villain. He's threatening, but he's also fun. And at the end of the day, he becomes Goku's friend because the only thing that motivates him is the same thing that's the only thing that motivates Goku, which is that he really likes fighting and nobody can challenge him.
So did this just turn into spoiler territory for Battle of Gods?
Yeah, no. So Dragon Ball Evolution is the funniest Dragon Ball movie.
For all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, if you get drunk and watch that movie, you are going to have a good time.
Just don't do it in the theater.
Yeah.
Just never do it in the theater. Well, actually, for that movie, I'd say do it.
No,
No.
But here's the thing. Think about it this way. If you get drunk in the theater of Dragon Ball Evolution, you're not going to get a reaction because there's no one else in that theater.
Yeah?
True.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's very true. But yeah, Dragon Ball Evolution is the funniest one to watch, and then I'd say Battle of the Gods is the best.
Which is kind of sad that it took them that long to get like really good at it.
Yeah.
They made a lot of those movies before Battle of the Gods.
They did. I mean, some of them are pretty good. World's Strongest is pretty good. World's Strongest Abridged is real good.
Which Izzy and I are both in.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Hey, Biomen.
We are Biomen.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple more questions.
Yeah, let's do them.
Let's do a couple more questions before we tune out.
Yeah, just make an extra long podcast. What the fuck? Why not?
This is actually short for me. This is real short for me.
Then let's keep going.
Boss Swegu asks, "Canned chicken here. Why do people still like Star Wars with almost half of the films created for the franchise being utter trash? Why do people celebrate it as a miracle of storytelling?"
Okay, well, almost half the films is harsh because you got...
and then he followed up with, also, when is the SAO stream? I got to get in on that action. That's something that I promised I would do a Sword Art Online game stream and also a stream of me watching all of Sword Art Online and suffering.
Oh, God.
So...
Should we join you for that?
Maybe. It depends. I might be at my girlfriend. I will be at my girlfriend's place in Toronto this Christmas. So it will either be during my time there or after MagFest and after RadCon. Or maybe I'll do it with Digibro because he deserves to suffer too.
You and Digibro watching that would be magical. But
and then finally he said, "With love, Uncle Canned Chicken throws $20 at Geoff. Also, what do you think of the official Shilopolis $100 note? In canned we trust." This is the guy who threw like $300 at me on stream to make me watch Sword Art Online. So I owe him that. I owe him that. I also owe him naming my character in Pokemon after him when I do a Nuzlocke run.
Nice.
I have made many promises. So anyway, Star Wars.
Well, he says half the films.
I disagree with that too.
There's 3 of the prequels that you can argue are terrible. Some people can make a pretty good case the third one isn't that bad. I'm not fond of the 3 prequels, but some people can at least make a good case for that. And those are the absolute worst of the films. Then you're going into the original trilogy and Force Awakens, and now we've got Rogue One. The batting average on this is actually pretty good in comparison to a lot of franchises.
Like, you could argue, like, you could make a good argument that almost half of Jedi is kind of bad.
I know, everyone shits on the Ewoks. I've never had a problem with the Ewoks.
Not just the Ewoks, but, like, how it ends, like, how it, like, swerves into a happy ending that the rest of the series doesn't really support. Like, the whole thing was gearing up for this bittersweet, morally gray ending where maybe Luke is on the path to the dark side and he, like, walks off away from his friends. And they kind of brought that back in The Force Awakens, which is something I appreciated. But that was the original plot. And then George Lucas was like, I want to sell more toys.
I feel like part of it is also that the inspiration came from like old samurai movies. Like if you've seen The Hidden Fortress, you can actually draw a lot of parallels between that movie
and A New Hope.
And New Hope.
And a New
that's
Hope.
why
and
the Jedi dressed that way. That's why we got lightsabers. That's what inspired Darth Vader's helmet.
Yeah.
Because the costume
the
designer...
Kabuto.
Yeah, George Lucas told him, like, I'm doing this like a samurai film. And he's like, okay, I'll make him like a shogun. And that's why the helmet's shaped that way.
Yeah, but they kind of go away from that, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And that's the thing, though. I think it starts based off of that kind of stuff, and then sort of goes, okay, now we've got our own thing going. Let's steer it towards this a little bit, so it's set up a certain way, and then they pay it off a little bit different.
And I think it's pretty good, but a lot of that does come from, like, Lucas had to fight on every creative decision in A New Hope.
And on Empire.
But then on Empire, he had even less control, and that was like a good director that he admired taking it over.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, and I think with Return, a lot of that was just what you had. That was also a problem with the prequels, that George Lucas just doesn't like being told no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've just got that moment of like, or you've just got that feeling of like, no. George said this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be. Because I think that's what happened. David Lynch was actually offered to direct Return of the Jedi.
Oh, how good would that be?
No, that's the problem. David Lynch turned it down because he had the meeting with Lucas, and he's like, okay, you're probably not going to let me do my kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to make a George Lucas film and slap my name on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what kind of happens with that film. And I don't even have that big a problem with it. I love Luke and the final goodbye with Vader. That's a great scene.
No, I think there's a lot of really, really great stuff in Jedi. I just think that Jedi marks the point where everything that ruined the prequels started.
Yeah, I'd say that, but I would still say it works better than a lot of people give it credit for. There are a lot of people who shit on Return of the Jedi. And the emotional core is there, you got the good stuff, and you've got what is still, in my opinion, well, I don't know, Rogue One has probably beaten it with a couple of those lines, but at least of the classic trilogy, the best joke of those original three. Boba Fett, where? Just, the greatest badass in the universe gets taken out by accident by a blind man.
Jedi's got good moments, don't get me wrong. I would just say that, the prequels are trash almost all the way through. There's 5 salvageable minutes of the last one, and then everything else is...
I pretty much agree with all of nostalgia critics' points on the things of the prequels that are good.
I mean,
he makes a lot of good points. Again, the little bit of myth building they make in the third one.
I profoundly disagree with everything he had to say about Yoda. He said that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Yoda was good, and no. All of the lightsaber fights in the prequel trilogy suck balls.
I don't know. I was on the fence with the Yoda thing until that honest trailer for Empire came out, and it was like, oh yeah, Yoda's just making Luke do all sorts of weird backflips and front flips and gymnastic stuff, where it's like, wait, did the prequels get that from Empire Strikes Back? That Jedi do that shit? Because that wasn't really in the New Hope, and then it was brought into Empire Strikes Back, and it's like, oh, yeah, Yoda's teaching Luke about doing flips and shit.
He's teaching about standing on his head.
No, he does a lot of jumping around and flips.
Yeah, I don't think that's supposed to be applied to the sword fighting in that. It doesn't make sense for all that flipping around to be used with sword fighting, because you want to have a position path. I don't know. I think that all of the sword fights in the prequel trilogy look super fake, and I hate them.
Oh, of course they look fake, but, they're fun.
I feel like a big part of the appeal of Star Wars as a whole, though, is that it's this fantasy sci-fi setting mashed up, but it's all really dirty and feels almost real,
and the prequels
it's a lot more believable.
And the prequels are super polished, clean, and then the flip side of that is Force Awakens has some problems with its, some people would say that its story hews too close to A New Hope. I would say that they, hitting the story rhymes, things echo through the Force or whatever. That's an interesting idea as long as they explore it and actually explain it within the story. But my main thing that I love about that movie and what makes me put it above Jedi, it definitely goes above Jedi for me.
I'd agree with that.
Is that it's got the best lightsaber fights in the whole series. The lightsaber for the first time looks like a real weapon that you can kill somebody with. Like, people get stabbed through the gut. It's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, too. Yeah, no. I'm not saying Return of the Jedi is flawless. I'm just saying I feel like it gets more shit than it deserves.
Yeah, I would say so, too. I would say it's not...
Yeah.
Because it's still got all the elements of that story that's, like, good.
Yeah.
It's just... It's nestled between some... Yeah. But on the whole, that's still...
Yeah.
5 out of 9 movies.
Are we also talking... Now, Disney canned all of the like,
Actually,
extra
6 out of
stuff,
9.
but does the Genndy Tartakovsky animated Clone Wars shorts, do those still count as canon?
I think those count.
Because the ones of those that had General Grievous in them made me love the character so much, and then, like, Episode 3, it's just, this is not General Grievous.
No.
Who is this man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so I think those are still canon, which, again, that's another part of the franchise that does not suck.
Oh yeah, Clone Wars is fantastic.
So much.
Almost all of the extended universe is really, really good.
Haven't read any of them, so I can't say.
But I mean, like,
That's okay, they're not canon anymore.
yeah, they're not canon anymore. But like, I mean, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed was a pretty good story and a pretty good video game.
Yeah,
I think that Star Wars. Sorry, not 5 out of 9, 5 out of 8. 5 out of 8 Star Wars movies are good.
And here's the thing: of those that are good, you've got at least 2. Like Force Awakens, people can make the argument about, it's too close to A New Hope, and that's a big problem with it. Fine, whatever. But with Empire Strikes Back and now Rogue One, I will say this about Rogue One: you've got at least 2 that are not just good; they're great.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, Rogue One is so good. I did not expect that. I was like, oh, this will be fun. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm walking out of the theater like, whoa.
I think back to scenes from that I watched, and it just makes me smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, smile. Like, you laugh, you cry. It's like a genuine emotion in this film. And yeah, I walked out of that thinking, I genuinely give more of a shit about all of the characters that I know, like, in that film. Like, I give more of a shit about them than many from the original trilogy, and definitely more than any of the prequels.
Yeah.
Like, even though I liked Ben Kenobi in the prequels, like, these characters are just, wow.
Oh yeah, no, like this is the best cast of characters that Star Wars has ever had.
Yeah,
I mean,
top to bottom, the best. Like, I would say you might make a case for better characters individually elsewhere, but like top to bottom for a movie, this one no contest.
Oh yeah, I
say so, yeah.
And I say that I love Han Solo. Han Solo is an amazing character.
Yeah,
Actually, I really like Luke. I like the whole cast of the original trilogy too, and I fucking love Poe Dameron and Finn.
Yes.
Yeah.
I ship it.
Everybody ships
I really like the BB-8 and Finn, though, where he's like, gives him a thumbs up and then the little lighter comes out.
Oh, God. Yeah, BB-8 is like top tier droid, too. Top tier droid waifu.
Yeah. I still love that. You ever seen that video of Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about, like, the BB-8, like, he's adorable, but mechanically that wouldn't make any sense. Like, that robot wouldn't work. And
not on sand.
Yeah, not on sand. And then someone did video where they, like, no, this was, like, a physical prop, remote controlled, and they showed it working. And I love Neil deGrasse Tyson just, oh, well, damn.
I guess I was wrong.
Proved it wrong.
I know. I love that. Like, yeah, BB-8, we might have that one day. We might have this cute little droid.
Is that a mini version?
I like Neil deGrasse Tyson. But man, he can be full of himself sometimes, and it's nice seeing him get taken down a peg by someone who's not an asshole.
Sometimes it feels like he's no fun allowed, but he's...
He's no fun allowed for good reasons.
Yes. He's earned no fun allowed.
Yeah, because he has to deal with a lot of ignorant assholes who keep telling him that they know better.
Yeah.
So
I do not hold it against him at all.
Yeah.
Apparently, Bill Nye can be just as much of a dick. That was the big Reddit revelation last week. Is that
What, because he was saying that he used to hate Star Wars because it's like, the Force isn't real.
No, Bill...
Of course it's not real.
Bill
Nobody's
Nye-
saying it is.
Bill Nye hates dealing with children.
Really?
He's famous for running
Yeah,
a kids show.
which to be fair,
Children
if
are
you
monsters.
Children are monsters. But yeah, he's given some kids bad experiences in the past. Apparently, he was
Were the
notorious.
police involved?
No, he's not Bill Cosby. You're thinking of a different
wrong
Disney
Bill.
channel.
No. Bill Cosby doesn't do that to children. You're thinking,
The Super Adventure Club.
yeah.
Yes.
But yeah. Apparently Bill Nye can be a bit of a dick too, but honestly, when you are passionate about science, it's sometimes hard not to be a dick.
Yeah, when you're passionate about seeking out intelligence and truth, I can understand maybe being like, okay, I'm just done with all the bullshit of people who aren't as passionate about learning new things.
Yeah. But at the same time, being a dick to children is not really excusable. Anyway, we got one more question from Javier Beru Chavez.
Oh, I was really hoping that was going to be Javier Bardem. I'm a big fan.
Javier Bardem.
Yes, I'm
thanks
sure
for
he has
writing
a
in.
lot of questions for us.
Yeah, he's got 2 questions. In an interview, Araki said Giorno is supposed to be someone with a deep sadness in his heart. How well do you feel he conveyed this?
Wait, who?
Giorno from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Geo's Bizarre Adventure.
Sorry, I misheard. I thought you were
Araki.
saying... Okay, I thought you were saying Reki. I'm like, Giorno? What character in Sword Art is named Giorno?
Oh man, how much better would Sword Art Online be if it was all JoJo characters?
Oh my god, Kirito's got the sword, but he's still doing the weird posing.
No. Kirito. Gleam Eyes, you think you've defeated me, but I've activated the first bomb!
Yeah. Oh god.
Killer Queen!
Yeah.
And then just Suichi! Sheer heart attack!
God, yeah, no, Kirito... Yeah, it's Black Swordsman, so I guess... Oh yeah. Kirito's stand would be painted black.
That would really fit.
That would really fit.
Dude is way too jazzed about wearing black.
And it would essentially be like Star Platinum, but instead of punching you, he's stabbing you repeatedly. With 2 swords.
It's just a person made of...
So Silver Chariot.
It's just a person made of swords.
It's double-handed silver chariot. And just...
Silver Chariot goes dual hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wielded Anubis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so to ask the actual question, so Giorno is supposed to be someone with a deep sadness in his heart. How well do you feel that he conveyed that?
I feel like he went to Disneyland.
Yeah, he went to non-copyright land.
Oh, okay.
And any character who might have been copyrighted was conveniently taken out of their signs by a stand power.
Yes.
I still have no idea what you're talking about.
Is Giorno the Part 5 JoJo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't know anything.
Okay, so...
Not a clue
Oh,
who
you
that
guys
is.
anime only? Or...
I keep fighting it because I keep hearing such great things about Steel Ball Run, but I am really...
It's
Steel
worth
Ball
getting
Run.
to Steel Ball Run, I'd say. But
I'm worried about it because I'm just enjoying watching the anime and being surprised by this.
To not go into spoilers, I would say that...
I will say I have had fun going back and reading the manga afterwards. I got Battle Tendency, and that is great to reread.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while, but I don't actually remember there being too much about sadness in his heart. I remember it was his motivations for wanting to be the boss. They were noble, but they weren't
sad.
really driven by too
Yeah.
much. I mean, I guess there could be like some sadness, like it's like, oh, there can't be kids in the street doing drugs. That's terrible. I must become the mafia boss. And
Maybe he's got like
to
some.
stop the drug trade. The boss is in charge of prostitution and drugs and whatever, and he's like, if I become the boss, I can make them stop doing things that are profitable for them.
Wait, JoJo fights the Godfather?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wants to become a gang star, which is like a gangster, but more fabulous.
It's JoJo, so everything's more fabulous.
That's what they call themselves, the gang stars.
Yes.
I believe that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't really see that sadness in Giorno.
Yeah.
Maybe his relationship with his father, which is it spoilers to say it's Dio?
No, I don't think so.
That's like the premise.
When it shows up, it's all like, this guy is this. He's technically the son of Jonathan in that sense.
He's the son of Jonathan, but with Dio's blood. It's confusing.
He's the son of
we'll get to
Dio's
it when we get
head
to
and
it.
Jonathan's body.
He's the son of Dio's brain and Jonathan's testicles.
Yeah.
Which is like enough to make him blonde.
Sure, I'm sure that's how genetics work.
And then the second question: who's your favorite JoJo, and what's the main reason?
Hard one.
Joseph.
And he says, mine is Joshu because of how unbalanced the flaws to strength ratio is. I think he's hilariously horrible and an underdog by JoJo standards. But then he's also kind of the Okuyasu.
Which part is that?
Part 8.
Oh, that's JoJo line?
JoJolian? Yeah, Joshu Higashikata.
Oh, okay.
He's interesting because he's like a mix.
Yeah, like his name is JoJo, but he's not... He's just
not typical JoJo.
He's part 8 Josuke's adopted brother. Part 8's weird because part 8 is in part a remake of part 4.
Wait, what?
But it's set in an alternate world where people get stands from the Walleyes, which are basically like the cliffs of.
Too much
Aren't they inherited?
That's that's not a spoiler. That's the premise.
It's alternate universe.
All you need to know is that the alternate universe is still within the same universe because of reasons that you'll see later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it fair to say that my favorite JoJo is actually a Zeppeli, Gyro?
Gyro is a good JoJo, but you can't...
That was an interesting thing, though, because it felt more like Gyro was the JoJo, even though Johnny Joestar was the actual JoJo.
But Johnny Joestar goes through such an amazing arc, because he starts as not like a hero, and then he... Over time, you really feel his friendship with Giorno.
Yes.
You know, the pizza mozzarella,
Izzy and I are staring blankly now, because we're only at, like, the tail end of part 4.
Yeah, and Gyro's response to that just being, oh, that's real good, like, just completely sarcastic deadpan. Yeah. That's real good, you should turn that into a song. And like, going from that to... his actual serious ass kicking at the end of Steel Ball Run is a really good journey, and I don't know if I'd say that Johnny's my favorite JoJo though. I kind of have to go with Josuke.
Josuke, yeah.
I love Josuke has
part 8
finally,
Josuke.
No, part 4 Josuke.
Okay, finally we can talk about stuff Izzy and I know.
Yeah, because man, Josuke's got a cool power.
He does, and he's like a delinquent with a heart of gold. But
shockingly useful.
I still have a soft spot in my heart for Fist of the North Star meets Sherlock Holmes.
Jonathan
Joestar?
No,
Joseph.
I mean, Joseph.
That's
Joey JoJo.
That's
JoJo.
Izzy and I both agree that's our favorite.
Yeah.
Because... He's what our Kirito aspires to be. He's the troll JoJo.
I had a really interesting experience with JoJo because, like, when I first tried, it was before the anime started up again, and I first tried reading it because I heard so many good things about it, and I had a hard time getting through part 1. It didn't quite grab me as much as it could have.
Yeah.
And then, the anime comes out and everyone's speaking great things about it, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch it, and I'm watching it. And at this point, like, part 2 is going. So I get almost all the way through part 2, and I'm like, oh, man, part 2 is so great. And it stands on its own so well, too.
Yeah.
But then what ended up happening was I get to almost the end. There's one more episode of part 2 left, and it's not out yet. And I'm
just had to read it.
Screw it. So I start reading it, and next thing I know, I'm caught up.
Yeah, that's what happened to me just right as soon as it ended. I'm like, I have to read part 3. I have to read part 4. I have to read part 5. And I mean, God, I love Joseph. I love Joseph because he's, man, in the...
Was this your plan too, Joseph? Yes, it was. It really wasn't, but that'll piss him off.
Izzy and I love that bit, but we always come back to the grenade trick.
Yes.
The surprise was grenades!
Never assume there's
machine
only
gun.
one grenade.
Yeah,
I love the way he phrases that, where it's like, you haven't spent enough time in the big city. You look at this, I'm like, Joseph, do people routinely try to attach multiple grenades to you? What kind of life have you had?
Yeah, no, that's...
What cities have you been living in?
New York City in the 1920s. I thought that was implied. Anyway,
The idea of having a dummy grenade next to your clutch of fucking grenades is like, oh yeah, everyone knows that.
And that's what I love. His entire
Like the Tommy gun under the coat.
Yeah, I love that. You think like he's gonna do like Homo and everything because you're used to Jonathan, and instead whips off the jacket and just blows him away with a fucking gun.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I love... Joseph is definitely the best conveyed in any of the fighting games.
Yes.
Because in All-Star Battle, man, holy fuck. Young Joseph... the clacker balls are really good, but young Joseph has an auto-counter move, which he goes... the next thing you're going to say is, and as he's doing that pose, if you hit him, he will predict what your next move is and counter you, and he gets a point for it. And if you get 3 of those points, he becomes insanely overpowered and impossible to kill. He's already insanely overpowered because he's got the best moveset in the game, and he can charge his special meter at will.
But I especially like the part when he does the counter thing, and then he goes... Next thing you're going to say is this, and then the other character says it, and then they're suddenly shocked.
Yeah. And then, but even better than that, as Old Star, in the fighting game, he's got like a bunch of different attacks using Hermit Purple, and every one of them, if he whiffs, if he whiffs on a special, oh my god! He like grabs his head and goes, oh no!
Oh no.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
Drop my phone.
But yeah, Joseph is best JoJo in my opinion, because again, I love the trolling. I love that he has always got like a billion maneuvers ahead of the opponent. Like, oh, you thought you outsmarted me? Well, guess what? You doing that just triggered my trap card. You know, that's him in a nutshell. Is he is constantly getting the villains to defeat themselves. Mm-hmm. And I just love that bit with cars. That whole, especially like dubbed. I love they changed up the dialogue slightly from the because in the translation he says that your next line is going to be, and Cars says the next line twice because it gets interrupted, and then he says it again. I like that in the dub they make it so that Cars doesn't say immediately what he says he's going to say. But then when that fucks him up and he gets interrupted, he then says it and simply doesn't react to the fact that he said it that time. It's just like it becomes this sly in-joke that Joseph is always right.
Yeah.
You know, your next line is, did you plan this too, Joseph? Or Jojo? Say, how do you always know? Gets hit with, the rocks. Did you plan this too, Jojo? Tell me! Of course, everything went down like clockwork. I mean, obviously, I obviously had no idea this was going to happen. But it's really fun thinking about how pissed he'll be thinking I screwed him.
I mean, oh god, Joseph. Yeah, Joseph's just a really fun character. I
also feel like he's super likable, and because part 2 stands on its own, he's also very easy to introduce people to JoJo as a whole.
Yeah, he's definitely a better first protagonist than Jonathan. Jonathan is just too perfect. Like, even Araki, I was seeing an interview with him talking about the different parts, and even he has said, like, going back and rereading it, like, one of the big things he would change is that Jonathan is just too good a boy. He's like, yeah, if I wrote that now, I would try to find, like, the darker aspects of him.
Which is what he did with Steel Ball Run.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's like Steel Ball Run Steel Ball Run is his attempt at reconciling that.
That actually makes sense because that interview takes place around the time of like part 6, so it only covers his thoughts on parts 1 through 6. And I made sure to only watch parts 1 through 4 because again, not going into 5 and 6 with. I'm going into 5 and 6
fresh
with as few spoilers as possible.
I still recommend reading it because it's so worth it to get to Steel Ball Run right now. But.
It'll be more satisfying if I wait.
No,
I Steel Ball, like, you'll be like, fuck, I waited so long to experience this.
I'm wondering though,
yeah.
Steel Ball Run is kind of its own continuity reboot in a sense. So what if you just skip straight to it?
You can, but then you're missing out. I guess it's not. It doesn't reference that much beyond part 3.
We'll make our own decisions. Yeah.
Okay.
No more spoilers. No risking spoilers.
Long story short, part 7 is definitely worth a read.
And
I
whether
heard
you
that.
choose to watch it or not, just be sure you grab the napkin.
Yes. And do it first.
Do it first. I don't know. One thing that I remember from watching part 2 was I was watching the Kami subs.
Yeah.
And Kami's MKV, you know the info dump about cars?
Which one?
When he turns into perfect cars.
Right, okay, that.
The info dump about everything about his body that's all on screen at once. So they subtitled all of that.
Oh my god.
In an MKV, zooming out frame by frame, because it zooms out slowly, so they had to redraw every single subtitle line, and there's over 140 lines of subtitles that are vectors that need to be redrawn on your screen every frame.
Good on them. Good on them.
So that MKV crashes your computer.
Nice.
It straight up crashes your computer, and there's almost nothing you can do about it. 10 out of 10, Kami subs.
Can you just turn off the subs, skip past that part?
That's how you have to do it. Yeah, that's how you have to do it.
Are there Dwang subs of part 4 out yet? Because I feel like if anything deserves Dwang subs, it's part 4. I'm sure that
Dwang.
I'm sure there already are. I'm almost certain there already.
Have you heard the story behind the Dwang?
Yes, I've read the original Dwang.
Oh, what a beautiful Dwang it is.
No, I mean the story behind where they came from.
They were translated into.
It was like some kids in China, I think, and they had an English class, and that was their English assignment. They chose to translate JoJo's into English, and they flunked. They flunked that assignment and still felt it was good enough to post online.
Because why not? Who cares?
Love you, Chinese kids.
Yeah, whoever those kids were, God bless you. You created one of the longest lasting and most memorable of JoJo memes.
I wonder if those kids went on to subtitle "Do Not Want" to bring it back to Star Wars.
It's a smart move. I could definitely talk about JoJo's for a long time.
Yeah, and so could I. We're going to be doing a JoJo podcast soon. As soon as the new series is over.
All right, yeah, as long as you're keeping it to parts 1 to 4 and minimum spoilers for 5 to 8.
Willie's definitely going to be on it, so I'm not sure how much room we have on the cast, but we'll see. I'm
just saying I would at least listen to it as long as I got that promise.
Yeah, it'll be up to part 4 and how well the anime has done so far.
Awesome.
But that said, right now I'm going to be saying this podcast, it's been pretty good. We talked about Star Wars.
Pretty good.
We talked about JoJo quite a lot.
And Dragon Ball more than I expected.
Yeah. Without Taka, weirdly.
Yeah.
But Taka's dead, it's fine.
Oh, wait, shit, that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
They're still just using old audio clips of him to give the illusion, so you're gonna have to edit this part of the podcast.
Yeah, actually, Taka's been a hologram for 4 years.
It's amazing what they can do with CGI hair these days.
Indeed.
So long and flowing.
Magnificent.
But yeah.
I thought Tarkin's beautiful long blonde hair was great in the movie.
Imagine Grand Moff Tarkin with like Fabio hair.
Yeah,
like,
that would have been.
It's his Alola form.
It's Peter Cushing as Dio.
I'd watch that movie.
Alolan Tarkin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, it hurts to laugh. I can't talk anymore because I still am getting over that cold, and I should get to bed pretty soon. So we're going to call this a night. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Be sure to shoot your questions to weeklyweebcast@gmail.com. I forgot to put that in the podcast at the beginning. I hate myself. But now you know, weeklyweebcast@gmail.com. What's that email address?
Weeklyweebcast@gmail.com.
Can you say it for me?
Weekly...
Izzy! Don't fuck up.
Pressure.
weeklyweebcast@gmail.com. That's the website. Go do it. And, while you're at it, watch or listen to some of the other Weebcasts. I'm going to be uploading the ones that aren't yet on SoundCloud up to SoundCloud sometime this week. And I've just been crazy busy. I don't know if I told you this, but I was in Japan. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I'm Geoff Thew, professional shitbag.
I'm Jono, his professional friend.
I'm Mackenzie, the co-writer of Sword Online Abridged.
I'm Izzy, or Yamato SFX.
And we are signing out from my mother's kitchen.